Chapter 176, Heavenly Lions Battalion. There was no further reply from the Lying Water Kingdom Army's side, but a few hundred individuals among their ranks began to gather in a single attacking formation, and then they quickly advanced towards the shield wall. Knights, the first thing that crossed everyone's mind when they saw their speed. If they continued at that pace, they will surely make a huge hole in the shield wall. St. David muttered, then shouted to his left, "The Heavenly Lions Battalion, advance!" 800 individuals in full categorized body armor with a roaring lion icon engraved on their armor quickly advanced and stood in a defensive formation in front of the shield wall. All of them were knights. These were the knights who had emerged from the new nobles' families that swore allegiance to the Burtons in the new lands over the past few years. An entire battalion of knights had been formed from them alone. It is worth mentioning all that they got was a weak minor law heavenly technique that appeared strong because of how perfect the law technique is, and they still had such numbers of knights emerging from their ranks. It shows how much these people were thirsty for power. "Get out of the way, you damn weaklings!" The Lying Water Knight who was running up in front shouted. They came expecting resistance for their enemy knights, but the ones that came out to stop them were just too trashy. Those who loved to battle were actually disappointed at what they saw. Standing on the hill, with a single look, St. David could determine the level of the man who just shouted, a level 20 knight. And those behind him as well wasn't too far off. Almost half of them were above level 14. Although their numbers are also around 800, the quality difference between the two parties was like day and night. Knowing that his own battalion consists of knights that are at levels between 11 to 13, St. David bubbles shrank. Boom. The first clash was too bloody. As soon as the two parties meet, too many heads and body parts fell to the ground, all of them belonging to the Heavenly Lions Battalion Knights. The attacks of water and fire were flying everywhere, but the water always won. Quickly, a great crack began to appear in the ranks of the Heavenly Lions Battalion. It was clear that this battle wouldn't last for another 5 minutes. "What are you waiting for? Do something." Robin raised his voice as he saw the sight in front of him. He couldn't control himself anymore. This massacre can't be allowed to continue. "Damn it," David cursed, then shouted, "Caesar, take your men and—" "No," Robin interrupted with a shout. "Leave the Fire Legion aside. Seeing the current situation, we will need them in another mission soon." "What do you need them for? This is the Knights' battle. Secondly, if I leave him aside, what do I do then?" David shouted at him. "Send out the Darkness Legion quickly, and appointed the Wind Legion to help from afar as well," Robin suggested. "Right. Theo, take your men and go. You know what you have to do. Peon, shoot those bastards down. Don't allow them to have their way." "We hear and obey." The two bowed and disappeared. 7th and 8th Battalions go to the right flank. 5th and 4th Battalions stay here, help to break through. 3rd Battalion UG. The field commander of the Lying Water Knights couldn't finish his words. A metal arrow was planted in the middle of his throat, and before he could try to take it out, the arrow exploded, causing his head to burst 30 meters into the air before hitting the ground in a frightening sight. Your priority is to concentrate on anyone who tries to give orders. Your second priority is to help our knights there as much as you can. Don't give them time to even think about advancing again," Peon shouted as he lowered his bow from about a kilometer away from the target. "Yes, Commander." The 600 Wind Legion soldiers responded in union before they pulled back their bowstrings and shouted 600 metal arrows towards the knight's battlefield. Swoosh! The extraordinary sense of hearing that users of the major heavenly law of wind possess, combined with the added wind speed of the arrows and their ability to change their direction after the launch, made these categorized metal arrows more lethal than any long-range weapon known to the planet, especially when you attach level 10 fire explosion talismans to the arrows. "Stay low. Watch out for those arrows." Shouts and screams of the Lying Water Knights formation began to resound for the first time since the first clash happened. Even though the 600 arrows had successfully reached their targets, it had only managed to kill 15 knights of them. The rest managed to block the arrows, but it was at the cost of retreating in front of their opponent and losing ground and momentum. Just after the first wave of the arrows, the advance of the Lying Water Knights stopped, and they began to fight the Burton's Heavenly Lions battalion more cautiously as they put half their mind in trying to predict and stop the incoming weird arrows. While everyone else was preoccupied with the arrows or the low-level knights standing in front of them, a loud cry resounded from one of the knights, as he found a dagger piercing his heart from behind. What is it? They are using dark talismans. Watch out. Come close and protect each other's backs. First, the Lying Water Knights came with great confidence and didn't care about cooperation and coordination between themselves. Seeing Burton's knights were much weaker, they just wanted to get it over with as soon as possible. Then they started to leave spaces between them due to the exploding strange arrows, and their advance stopped due to the killing of a number of their ground leaders. And now they came back to approach each other again and slowly retreated after the Knights of the Dark Legion appeared. Everything was going perfectly. Even St. David started to smile from ear to ear at the sight in front of him. It won't work. Robin's voice beside him cut off his satisfied smile. What are you talking about? Look ahead of you, we are winning. The general looked next to him, furrowing an eyebrow. Robin did not answer him directly, but Robin inserted his soul sense into the ring. He was clearly sending a message. A moment later, movements began to occur in the lines of the army that attracted St. David's attention, and he found that the Fire Legion was retreating behind the hill. He looked back at Robin quickly. Was it you who ordered this? Where did you send them? Robin raised his finger and pointed at a certain point among the enemy army. Do you see their general? Of course not. David shook his head after casting his eyes in that direction. It was a sea of soldiers. Even when he was talking before, he didn't see him. So how can he spot him now? I just pointed him out for you. You still can't see him? Anyway, I see him clearly. Robin fixed his gaze at a very angry-looking old man, giving commands left and right. With his eyes, Robin could even read the movements of his lips from that distance, then continued. He intends to send the 20 saints of his to help the knights to complete their mission and open a hole in the shield wall. They will join the fight in a few minutes. And he is also ordering his army to stand ready and to ignore the knights' battle and quickly get through that hole when the saints open it. The situation will be devastating if that happens. They have 20 saints. What the hell are Galen and Raymond doing there? How can they spare 20 saints and send them here? David panicked. As he calculated, they currently have 6 saints from the Burton family. 4 of them are only level 21, plus Mila, meaning 7 saints in total, trying to struggle against 20 saints. Well, this is the army of Harris family, the Middle Duchy that wasn't attacked. They send quite a few of their own here. It seems that they came with much more ambition than just relieving their anger. St. David panicked. This is bad. What do we do? Why did you make Caesar withdraw with the Fire Legion? We could use that combined attack now. Hey, that wasn't easy on me, and you know it. Stop counting on it. Plus, if I do it, I will burn our knights too. And if we tell them to retreat back first, the wall of shields will collapse because of the enemy's knights even before their saints arrive. That definitely won't work. Robin shook his head. What to do then? The saint asked again. Commanding armies was definitely not his greatest point. Do what I will tell you to the letter. Chapter 177, Push. On the other side of the battle. Sam, Mahi, all of you, are you all ready? I have heard that the Burtons have very few saints and knights, and that they were only an ordinary Earl family a few years ago. Technically speaking, you should easily open that gap in the shield wall and reach their general headquarters. But in truth, we don't know the real strength of the Burton family. We can see now that they have 800 new knights, and maybe there are many saints hidden as well. I will not lie to you all. If the mission was executed as planned, a few of you might need to sacrifice their life. The general shouted at 20 individuals standing around him. No need for this talk right now. Just give us orders. We will make our way towards their general above that hill and take his head no matter how many saints await us. A saint hit himself proudly on the chest. The general nodded. All right. In 10 seconds you can. The general stopped his speech in the middle. What is going on over there? The saints around him moved their eyes toward the battlefield as well, and expressions of joy began to appear on their faces. Excellent. As expected of our mighty men. The Battle of the Knights in the middle took an unexpected turn. A gap appeared on the left side between the Burton Knights, and a few dozen Lying Water Knights slipped out of the battle using it and were now running towards the shield wall to complete their mission, and none of the Burton knights were free to chase them. Looks like the hole in the shield wall will be made without your intervention after all, huh? The general laughed out loud, loving what he sees, then started shouting, "Advance! Keep the loose formation and move forward. Don't let your knight's good work go in vain." Yeah. A loud shout resounded from all of the nearly 270,000 soldiers as they began running again in the same divergent formation as before. Upon hearing the shout, the Knights of Lying Water automatically began to leap towards the left, bringing with them the Knights of the Burton family and the Darkness Legion, so the central area emptied once more for the massive army. The difference this time was that the scene in front of the Lying Water infantry was not the same. The few dozen knights who had managed to escape had already reached the shield wall and were able to kill the heavy infantry and even the spear holders behind them. In the blink of an eye, a hall of more than 100 meters appeared in the middle of the wall. Hi-ya! Glory to the Lying Water! Glory to the Duchy of Harris! Move! Seeing their knights wreaking havoc on the soldiers of the Burton family and the huge gap in front of them made their blood boil from excitement and started to accelerate even faster. After they stormed that point, the talismans wouldn't be used freely as before because the Burton archers would be killing their own as well. A real battle would begin where the strongest and most experienced would win. Whoa, they are coming. Get back. Save your life. The screams began to rise among the soldiers of the Burton family as they saw the coming crazed-looking soldiers thrown the huge gap in the shield wall. The part of the army that was facing the gap in the shield wall began to morally and literally collapse rapidly, and the soldiers retreated too quickly that they even began to step and trample over each other. Seeing what was happening increased the Lying Water soldiers' enthusiasm exponentially as they sped forward shouting, "To glory!" Because the gap was only about 100 meters wide, the Lying Water army began to automatically become closer to each other, and the gaps between the soldiers returned to normal in the more advanced rows. Seeing the new situation and how tightly the Lying Water formation has become, the Burton family's talismans, arrows, and landmines returned to work, with every explosion able to kill or seriously injure 3 to 4 individuals. But this did not stop them. The infantries in the first rows kept running as if their life depended on it. And it is. The explosion threat will all be greatly reduced when they arrive at the Burton Army infantry front lines and the close combat begins, especially so for the closest to the fighting line. That's why all of them kept ignoring the explosions and the body parts flying around and only focused on how to get to the frightened Burton's infantry first. Not only that, when they kill those frightened infantry units, they can keep running straight to climb that hill and kill the annoying archers and seize their armory of talismans. Hi-ya! The first few rows of the Lying Water soldiers crossed the gap in the shield wall and rushed at full speed towards the Burtons who were trying to flee backward in front of them, ignoring the soldiers that were still standing firmly on either side. SSSLAESH. Take this. Like a hot knife and cheese, the incoming Lying Water soldiers attacked the undefended backs of the Burton's army who were trying to escape. A bloodbath began. And still, the Burtons facing the gap still trying to rush back towards the hill, not trying to defend themselves against the full assault that was reaping their lives. Keep moving forward. It is in our hands. Once we reach the top of that hill, the battle will be over. The assistant general responsibility of the infantry started shouting at the top of his voice. Things are going much better than expected. The 2,000 Burton archers still rained down their arrows at the back rows of the Lying Water soldiers, killing thousands with each wave. But that didn't stop them. They actually tried to accelerate their pace to reach an even deeper position inside the Burton army. The death rate significantly dropped to those at the front lines as expected. The archers can't target as men who got close to the Burton's army because they have almost been mixed up, and targeting them would kill the Burtons too. Those at the far sides after entering the gap began to attack the rest of the Burton soldiers that didn't fall back to also gain refuge from the arrows and may frighten those chickens too, but their hopes were shattered. The Burton soldiers at the sides were all fierce, killing anyone trying to come near without taking a step back. Those who tries to fight them found it no different from waiting for an arrow. They were both certain deaths. But thank the heavens that the cowardly Burton family soldiers that were in the middle made it too easy for them. So orders came to only keep the Burton family soldiers at the sides busy, but to only continue pushing through the middle. Even leaving aside the killing of the archers and seizing their arrows that would already mean the end of the battle. Even without this point, after they have pierced them to the end and split the army and half their formations will be destroyed, then claiming the higher land, that is the hill, they can come down from above and easily eliminate the rest. Advance. Push. Push those cowards. After pushing the ranks of the cowardly Burton family soldiers for about 300 meters back, their speed of advance began to slow down noticeably. "What is going on ahead? Why are we not moving anymore?" shouted the assistant general of the infantry. The soldiers of the Burton family held their positions and began to resist. They still have hope, huh? That no longer available. The assistant general smiled. "Send more soldiers? Push harder. We must split them in half in the incoming 30 minutes at most." "Yes, Commander." The officer bowed and retreated to order a few more battalions to start jumping over their brothers' heads and move quickly to the front line. To glory. Death to the Black Sun bastards. Another 15 minutes passed. More soldiers began to advance from the back rows to fill the gap their brothers has made and to jump on the retreating Burton family soldiers to quickly kill them and make them lose morale again. And with that, the Burton family soldiers that were behind the gap at the shield wall has retreated for another 200 meters. 100 meters wide and 600 meters deep. More than 150,000 soldiers were crammed closely together, and the number is still increasing, pushing and trying to keep advancing towards the hill with all their might. Explosive talisman arrows attack their back rows, and a few arrows target their middle every now and then, but whoever dies was the one behind him trampling on his body and completing the push forward fiercely. The smiles of the generals and the lying water saints became ear to ear. With great sacrifices, victory became their sights. Now, with less than 50 meters remaining before they kill their way towards the hill, a loud voice echoed. Chapter 178 Gray. The last few soldiers of the Burton family quickly leaped backward, and a wall of categorized huge shields appeared in front of the lying water soldiers, frightening them. They shouted the soldiers of the lying water at the front line and tried to attack and uproot a few shields of the wall, but to no avail, and everyone who came close to a certain distance would be stabbed by a spear from over the wall, slashing his head. "Where are the knights? We need them again." The rush stopped once more. Everyone automatically awaited their knights to come from behind and destroy the shield wall again as they did a while ago. But when they looked behind them, they found their knights were fighting people with bows on their backs and light swords in their hands, and their heads were quickly falling one by one. A complete one-sided massacre. The 600 knights of the Wind Legion had descended from the hill and blocked the road from behind. "Make your way to the side. We have to," shouted the assistant general. Attacking the sides was a waste of time and energy in his eye minutes ago, as the Burton family soldiers that didn't retreat were all strong and most of them was holding a categorized weapon. Focusing on moving forward was the right choice then, but anymore, attacking men that are made of flesh and blood was much better than trying to take down this damn shield wall in front of them. But even this dangerous idea was met by another wall of categorized shields to his left, and when he looked behind him, he saw a shield wall on his right as well. They were sealed in like a giant cup of human bodies, in a formation that looked like underscore and underscore. They were surrounded by categorized shield walls from the front and the two sides, while they were blocked by 600 knights from the rear. And the assistant general could see that more heavy infantry with categorized shields appeared behind them to complete the rectangle shape and block them completely inside, and saw the 600 Burton family knights moving with extreme speed and started to take position around the rectangle. It was obvious that they wanted to help the spear holders in their mission to make sure no one will jump over these walls. "Hey, where the hell did you get all these categorized shields from?" The assistant general started shouting. "My men, fear not. Keep moving forward. We have to break through this wall. We must get to the top of the hill at full speed." As he said, "The hill," and pointed upwards to fire up his soldiers and give them a target and a new hope. But when their eyes turned up, whatever hope left was gone and replaced by complete despair. The number of the talisman archers at the top has increased by at least 5,000 more of them, They became so much that the top of the hill appeared to be covered with humans. Seeing this, despair possessed even the assistant general himself as he muttered, "This is bad. Release." Swoosh. Boom, 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 boom. After the order was given, the nearly 7,000 archers started injecting their energy into the fire explosion talismans, then shot at the closed sea of human buddies randomly. Arg. Open away from me. I have kids, I don't want them to be orph. Don't shoot your arrows here. Don't shoot here. I surrender. The first round was sufficient to kill whatever fighting intent within them. Many of them started to throw down their weapons and try to find a close corpse to get under it and protect themselves from the explosions. As after the second round, the huge closed rectangle turned into a massive pool of sticky blood. Because the shields were firmly attached to each other and planted in the ground, the blood and body parts of tens of thousands of dead did not seep outside, but rather accumulated inside the rectangle and began to rise with each falling arrow. Leaving aside the terror descending from the sky, looking underground was enough to kill any remaining spirits of the lying water soldiers, who were soaked in their brother's blood. Swoosh. Boom, 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 boom. The third round came down, killing over 20,000 additional soldiers, and killing with them any shred of brains left in the rest. In the blink of an eye, everyone threw their weapons to the blood lake beneath them, knelt down, and raised their hands to the sky, expressing complete submission. On the other side, damn it, the general of the lying water army and the rest of the saints by his side floated up, and they could see everything going on inside the rectangle. It was the definition of the term one-sided massacre. The general then looked down. His originally 300,000-strong army has come down to less than 100,000 soldiers that haven't entered the death box in time. As for his knights, they are all now fully engaged with the knights of Burton's army, who has a roaring lion icon on their armor, and those who use the darkness talismans and hit from the shadows. They were already in balance before, but after a few tens of knights of the lying water kingdom side left them to open the gap, the knights' battle slightly lost balance, and it became in the Burtons' favor even without the Wind Legion helping them. He desperately wants to depend on them to break that wall again, but he has no way he can pull some of them to help, or the rest of his knights will be massacred. But thinking about it, even if he managed to pull some of them out of the knights' battle, he still faces a big problem, and that is the 600 bow-bearing knights standing in front of him and besieging the shield wall rectangle. Where did the Burton family get all these knights from? Isn't the Burtons or startups who were ordinary Earl family just a decade ago? Currently, he has no weapon but himself and the rest of the saints. He can only make his way through the 600 bow-bearing knights quickly and destroy the wall, and then deal with them in an open battle. If he and his saints started a fight in the middle of the enemy infantry, they can use the opportunity to kill a few tens of them with wide-scale energy attacks and cancel their advantage. Maybe he can send an attack or two towards the annoying archers up the hill as well. As for his 100,000 soldiers, if he broke through the walls for them, they could still save their comrades, continue the plan, and keep going up the hill and tip the scales again in their favor. Everyone, we are going all in, advance. The general resolved to command him, so he raised his sword at the Burton family's army and flew towards them quickly, with the 20 saints flying behind him. Help! But instead of the war cries, screams of pain and despair suddenly sounded from behind him. The general and the rest of the saints stopped and turned around to look back, and they found 1,500 war horses piercing the rear of their army with ease like they were stepping on ants. Are those knights? Damn! Realizing the situation, the general shouted, "Quickly go back and stop them. You are all going to die today." Seeing the saints coming towards him, Caesar let out a loud shout, "Fire Legion, we shall feast on saints today." Then he raised his halberd upwards, and a gray-colored flame erupted out like a dormant volcano that stayed silent for thousands of years. Just the extremely gloomy aura of the gray flames alone was enough to terrify everyone who felt it. The 1,500 fire knights activated their white flames and advanced behind their leader and rushed straight towards the saints. On the other side of the scene, is that the Fire Legion? Saint David was suspended after he saw a sea of white flames sweeping the enemy army from behind. Robin nodded. Yep, I told Caesar to go round them and attack them where they stand, and maybe pull them back even further from us by attacking their weaker soldiers that stand at the rear. Why? We could have just sent them from here in a straight line. David asked with a raised eyebrow. A hint of sarcasm could be heard in his tone as well. If they marched from here, their saints would have advanced quickly to stop them before they reached their army. Another battle at the middle would have erupted, and at least one of them would have sneaked, destroyed the shields, and wreaked havoc here. Another saint might have slipped and returned to their remaining army and moved them to cause even more chaos. All in all, it would have been a very stupid move that put us on a standstill. And we don't want that, do we? Robin replied directly. You. David looked at his side in amazement. Is that really the inexperienced boy? He led the battle from start to finish as if he had fought 100 wars in the past. What? I have read a few books. Robin laughed and then looked to Saint David his side. Why are you still here? Take Mila and the rest of the saints, and half the Wind Legion, and go help Caesar, and send the other half of the Wind Legion to finish the battle against the knights on the right flank. This battle is over. Chapter 179 Blood on Hands. 1 hour later, everything was over. The Lying Water Kingdom's saints' battle against the Fire Legion initially was somewhat balanced. The saints couldn't have it their way in front of the seas of white flames, but still, the average level of the Fire Legion knights was quite low, and quickly dozens of Fire Legion knights ended up giving their lives for the cause. But that situation didn't last long. After the arrival of Mila, David, and the rest of the Burton saints, and working with the knights as the spearhead, along with the 300 Wind Legion knights who kept annoying the Lying Water saints with their explosive arrows every time they planned an attack, the situation quickly turned around to their favor. The battle became much more at ease that 500 Fire Knights defected from fighting the saints and began to wreak havoc on the remaining Lying Water army without being deterred, causing great destruction in it. Trapped by flames and explosions from all directions, the Lying Water saints began to fall one by one at a high rate and began to tactically retreat little by little towards the east. Even Caesar managed to deal the final blow to a level 21 saint and kill him with the help of a Fire Legion squad. The screams of this particular saint resounded on all the battlefield, giving a shudder to anyone who heard him. It was unknown whether those screams were because of the strange, gloomy gray flames that were burning his guts that gushed out, or out of shame that he is dying at the hands of a mere level 14 knight. Seeing that the situation would not get any better, the Lying Water general flew away towards the east at top speed along with 6 other saints without even bothering to look back anymore. On another front, the knights' barely balanced battle was broken after the 300 knights of the Wind Legion arrived personally at the field to help. Although Robin appointed them for support from behind and for gathering information, they were all using perfect major heavenly law technique, one that the Wind Emperor used to establish his empire and the one his descendants used to rule nearly a quarter of the known world. Wind blades and hurricanes blew away the remaining Lying Water knights. Most of them were killed or captured in no time after breaking the balance, and less than 100 individuals of them managed to flee. Meanwhile, the main body of the army of the Burtons rushed out and surrounded the rest of the Lying Water army, putting them in chains, as they had done with the others who were caught in the rectangle trap. In this battle alone, more than 120,000 prisoners were captured, and this is a huge record. Usually, soldiers fight with the well-known slogan, victory or death, but again the secret lies in destroying the morale of the enemy to the point that he does not even want to die. Today, the main army of one of the strongest duchies in the kingdom of the Lying Water has been broken. In the command tent over the hill 2 hours after the last soldier of the Lying Water army was chained. What are our losses? Robin asked gloomy right after the arrival of the last official, ignoring the smiles and positive atmosphere in the place. The sight of the Burton infantrymen getting massacred while they were trying to fake escaping can't get out of his head. 25,000 infantrymen were killed, spoke the assistant general in charge of the infantry. 1,000 cavalry were killed, and 2,000 heavy infantry who were in the front row after the wall was destroyed. They attacked from behind, and almost all of them died. Then the assistant general of the special troops added. Caesar looked at Peon and Theo and nodded toward them, and then advanced. The Heavenly Lions Battalion has lost 327 of its finest knights. The Fire Legion lost 118 knights. another 49 knights from the Wind Legion, and 20 knights from the Darkness Legion. Robin's features shrank after hearing these numbers and slowly sat in his place weakly. He looked like he had aged a few hundred years. Hey, what is the matter with your reaction? Those numbers don't count if we compare them against smashing an army of this size. When everyone knows what happened here, we will be treated like heroes in the Black Sun, and all kingdoms will fear us. Ha ha ha. David laughed out loud and patted Robin on the shoulder. The assistant generals, high officers, and the saints present nodded their heads with faces full of smiles. From which side were you looking at it? The victory was overwhelming. Even Mila came behind Robin and hugged his neck. Don't be hard on yourself. You have done well. If not for your bold strategies, the number of dead would have doubled, maybe even more. Saints, Robin muttered, clenching his fist. He was superior to the enemy army in everything except the number and level of the saints. Had it not been for the 21 saints they were facing, he would not have needed to make all those arrangements and plans to limit their danger and trap them. He wouldn't have needed to give orders to sacrifice those 25,000 men and women to make the shield wall trap. They might praise him for the overall picture, but he can't stop thinking of the blood he got on their hands after issuing the orders to the infantry behind the gap to retreat and don't fight back. He felt like he had failed them. David looked at the rest of the Burton saints and sighed. He knew what Robin was thinking. Their family deeply lacks cultivators in the sainthood realm, and if it weren't for all the benefits that Robin gave to them recently that added more saints to them and raised the others' level, they wouldn't have won today, even with losing half their army. Our victory today was not because of my strategies or because of my talismans. It was because of the sacrifice of the infantrymen who implemented what I said, knowing that many of them will die, and the knights who fought those who are in much higher levels than them without fear. Give the families of each infantryman a special additional pension, and to each knight's family 10,000 gold coins and a monthly pension of 50 gold coins, understand? Robin spoke while rubbing his forehead. Don't be harsh on yourself. Father, those infantrymen, you are the one who raised their morale to the point of sacrificing themselves without questioning because they know their death wouldn't be in vain. And even those knights, it was you who created them. Also, isn't that a bit too much? I request you reconsider. Caesar was delighted to hear of this decision about the deceased and his legion, but the total amount that needed to be paid has frightened him. Even leaving aside the thousands of infantrymen who will take the extra pension, the 10,000 gold coins for each knight alone is a huge problem. Almost 500 knights died in total. Don't worry, our new slaves will cover the costs after we sell them. Robin waved and then asked one of the assistant generals, how many fire explosion talismans do we have right now? The assistant general in charge of the archers took a step forward and spoke. We had 100,000 in Jura, and the talisman masters brought us another about 30,000 fire explosion talismans from the new lands, bringing the total to 130,000 fire explosion talismans. Patriarch Brian took 20,000 fire explosion talismans with him to protect Bradley's Pearl City, and today we have used 40,000 fire explosion talismans from our stoke. So right now we have about 70,000 fire explosion talismans, a little more or less. We used 40,000 fire explosion talismans in one battle, and yet they weren't the reason we won. Robin muttered, a disastrous figure. Saint David nodded. The sage had the right to urge the start of this war. Their tactics for dealing with talismans have crystallized to a very advanced stage. If we were not able to produce large quantities of fire explosion talismans now, we would have been defeated in a crashing manner. The kingdom of Doliver was invaded and half a duchy was taken from them with less than 8,000 talismans. Now this number is not enough to repel the first wave of soldiers in one battle. Mila, call the temporary head of the Rune Academy now. Tell him to declare an emergency and stop making all kinds of other talismans and focus on only the 6th and 10th level fire explosion talismans. From today, no need to make vitality, voice, wind blades, or even darkness. Even those who are still in training should start picking up the pen and try their luck. I need fire explosion talismans, a lot of them. Robin made up his mind and spoke. Chapter 180, It's About Time. Mila was surprised by his orders. I don't think this decision will please the noble families. They are impatiently waiting for the talismans at the monthly auctions in Jura and are already demanding to increase the numbers of auctions and selling points. They will certainly become angry after such a decision, And also, for what will you need all these talismans? Your mission here is over. My father and Duke Raymond already keeping 2 of the 3 enemy duchies busy, and we just smashed the main forces of the Duchy of Harris to pieces. It is impossible for one of the 3 duchies of the Lying Water Kingdom to send an army like this one again in the near future. The nobles wouldn't be pleased? What the hell are those? Let them go and FVCK themselves if they don't like it. I will sell what I want whenever I want wherever I want. If they have a problem with that, then they should go argue with the Burton family's army. Robin waved as if he hadn't heard anything. After he finished his words, a smile automatically appeared on his face for the first time in hours. All he was doing for the sake of the family, whether strengthening the upper icons, training the new generation, supporting and financing, literally everything, was in order to openly say these words. Today's battle had finally proven to him that he no longer had to fear or put anyone into consideration again when taking his decision. Finally, he can do what he wants in his lands and spread whatever he wants to spread of his knowledge without thinking about the consequences of his neighbors. Finally reached a degree of freedom that he was looking for from the beginning. After the news of today's battle spread, everyone will know who the Burton family is. No one will try to provoke them again. Except, when Robin got to this point and thought of the royal family, he shook his head and wiped the smile, then continued to Mila. What did you mean my task is over? Who will pay for the blood of the family members who died today? What do I tell the thousands of wives, sisters, and children that are waiting for their provider at home? They died protecting the Alton's lands. This. Mila looked with the side of her eyes at St. David, who in turn shrugged, also not knowing what Robin was talking about. We will get on with this subject at the right time. As for now, just send the orders as I told you. Robin waved and then looked at St. David. We will wait here for a few days, so starts making preparations for it, and settle everyone down. In the meantime, you send should the war prisoners to Jura to be sold there as slaves. If we kept them here, they screw up our rations. No problem. David nodded with a smile. He was the appointed general for this army, but he didn't feel anything strange as he took orders from Robin. Good. I will leave you to your new tasks then. Robin stood up and headed toward the exit. When news comes from the Patriarch, let me know. 3 days later, the commander's tent. Why was I summoned? Is there anything new? Robin walked in and asked straight away. St. Davido nodded and motioned to Robin to be seated. We have received news that the Patriarch fought with the hostile army 100 miles east of Bradley's Pearl. The battle started about 2 hours ago, and we think the results will be transmitted shortly. Oh, that is actually pretty fast. I was expecting he would need at least another day before the battle begins. I think his enemy increased his speed to try to catch him off guard. Robin sat down and spoke with interest. Well, I think we will know soon enough. Is there any news of what we agreed upon last time? The subject about the talismans, war prisoners, etc. Everything is done. The auction house in Jura is closed, and currently 480 rune masters are all working on the production of the fire explosion talismans only. The war prisoners are on their way to Jura City with a small troop of outforces and knights to escort them. I think Jura City market will be refreshed when they arrive. Haha. Good. Very good. Robin replied, then fell into a long silence. Buzzes. Everyone could feel that a message was delivered to St. David Ring, and they all looked at him anxiously. After a few seconds of closing his eyes, he opened them wide and declared, We are victorious. This is normal. What kind of a report is this? Robin interrupted the shout of joy that was about to resound from those present, and then continued, Ask him about the losses. The saint fell silent for another minute, then opened his eyes again, this time not very happy. The enemy army was annihilated except for a few saints and knights that managed to flee. But as for us, 30,000 soldiers were killed, 100 knights of the Fire and Wind Legion combined, and all of their 20,000 fire explosion talismans were used in the battle. Everyone was shocked to hear the full report. No wonder the Patriarch just said that he won at the beginning. The Patriarch faced an army close in size to his own, with his army of 100,000 strong, and his opponent is about 120,000. But the losses are catastrophic. It can be compared to their own losses, even though they faced 2 armies that are combined 3 times larger than the Patriarch's. Then they all returned to look at Robin. Certainly, without his ruthless instructions at the battle, their losses would not have been limited to what had occurred. Damn it, Robin clenched both hands. He was trying to deal with the fact that his orders has got more than 25,000 men and women killed, and now many more were added to the list. He might not be the one who led that army and caused their death. He is the one who sent them there and assigned them the limited amount of talismans and knights. Maybe if he assigned more talismans for them. 20,000 fire explosion talismans were already too much in his estimation when he allotted them to the Patriarch. He just couldn't imagine that the modern war strategies would use that much. Robin. Mila took a few tense steps and placed her hand on his shoulder. Don't worry too much about the losses. My father and Duke Alton will surely compensate the Burtons properly for it when they come back victorious. Compensate us for the losses? Those two will compensate us for the losses? Don't make me laugh. Robin exploded. Can't you understand what our losses mean? Our army is superior to your father's in terms of armaments, the number of knights, and the number of talismans, yet we have tasted all these heavy losses while we fought on our own lands. So what do you think happens there when they are on a hostile territory with no supply chain and one army after another keeps showing to them? If your father were in control, would he have allowed for an army of 120,000 soldiers to slip from under his nose to attack the capital of his lands? He and Raymond Alton won't be compensating me. I'm afraid they need someone to compensate them in the near future. Mila tilted her head and took a step back. It was unknown if she became worried about her father now she started thinking about the situation there, or it was because of Robin yelling at her. A moment of silence eclipsed the huge tent. That was what was really in their heads. The war in the lands of lying water must be witnessing massacres for the Altons and the Bradleys. At the very least, their conquest would never be an easy one, as everyone thought. So what do we do now? St. David asked gloomily. Maybe after all these sacrifices the two dukes will return defeated and all will go in vain. By then they might refuse to give the lands they promised before to Robin, much less give them any new compensations. Robin rubbed his forehead for a few seconds and then spoke. Let's go step by step. As long as the external threat to the lands of the Black Sun Kingdom is over and we prove to everyone that the Burton family is loyal to the kingdom and shown how we protected its honor and people, now is the time to put an end to the internal conflict. You mean? The saint narrowed his eyes. Robin finally got his hands off his forehead and spoke with a serious tone. Yes, it's time to finish what we left Jura City originally for. It's time to take the family's revenge, and mine too. Chapter 181 Marching West. Time has come. This is the best if not the only chance we will get to end these old conflicts. We can't go back home before we finish it. We will attack the two of them at the same time. 2 days from now, declare Marquis Rufus and Marquis Tai traitors for refusing to help defend the kingdom in the most needed time. With the other personal reasons, if a noble asked and announced that the Burton family had taken it upon themselves to remove this tumor for the sake of the kingdom. Half of our stock of the talismans with a few hundred more knights, including Theo and Peon, and 2 additional saints with one of them must be Billy. Send them all to the Patriarch to support his ranks. After he and his troops have enough rest from the devastating battle, reorganize their ranks, and the support arrives. He must head west towards Marquis Rufus' lands. Right. Also tell the Patriarch to slow down on his way to the heart of the Rufus family's lands. Tell him to only do his best to frighten them out and show off the strength of our army, while capturing small cities one by one. He must avoid any large battle. As for you, Uncle David, head southwest to attack Marquis Tai's lands. The Patriarch will descend upon the lands of Marquis Rufus from above, and you attack the Marcusa of Tai from below, eat their lands from both sides and cradle them in the middle. When they are trapped between both of you towards the end, it will be all over. For you, take from here only 120,000 soldiers and the rest of the saints of our family. Destroy Marquis Tai quickly and decisively. Make our victories there seem as legendary as you can. The rest of the 50,000 soldiers and Lady Mila will stay here with me in case one of the 2 Marquis tries to flee east as well, and to show to the whole kingdom that we still care about the borders even in settling the inner conflicts. This move will shut many mouths. Also summon 2 saints for 100 fire knights, and at least 2/3 of the army we left to guard the new lands at the formerly known Dolliver and Everin, and command them to come to meet me here. We need them here more. The remaining forces there and the rest of the 100 Fire Knights will be able to any rebellion attempt. Robin kept speaking without taking a breath. All that is good and doable, but I can't take on the Tai family saints with only myself and 4 other level 21 saints. Robin, attacking them with only 120,000 soldiers is hard enough. And the Patriarch is in an even more bad situation with only 70,000 soldiers and even fewer saints. Saint David replied after a little nod. Those were 2 ancient families with deep roots. Robin gave a chuckle. If that is your only concern, then I want you to reassure you and the Patriarch about the matter of the saints and the 2 families. You just have to keep them busy within the battle scoop and make a thick barrier around them using the flames of the Fire Legion Knights so that no one sees the details of what is happening inside, and the saints of the royal family will take care of the rest. Any other questions? Sai, I hope they will arrive in time then. Everything is clear. I will contact Brian and start preparing. David nodded seriously. Good. Robin stood up and walked out of the tent. Mila finally got out of her silence and hastened out of the tent and followed him. Robin, the Burton family's army has just come out of fierce battles. Why don't you give them more opportunity to rest, or maybe forget about the Marquis family altogether? I may not be here forever to take off the legacy I left. I must make sure that the environment around the family is relatively safe before thinking of anything else. And even if I was able to wait and postponed everything to the future, how long can your father hold? All that I'm trying to say is, when a person wants to move forward, first he must make sure that his back is safe. Robin replied seriously, then continued his walk, not adding another word, leaving Mila standing in her place, trying to solve his puzzles. Over the following days, the kingdom found itself on a hot plate once again. The news of the victory of the Burton family's army over 3 armies coming from the kingdom of the Lying Water with a total of 480,000 soldiers spread like fire on dry straw. The news was simply too exceptional. Not much had passed since the Burton family faced the Duchy of Everin, and news spread that they had wrested almost a quarter of the duchy lands from them. But no one understood how the Duke had so squandered all these lands without going all out. After all, the news said that there was no big fight between them. It was a small skirmish and a few people actually died. Only now did they understand. The Burton family today is not the same as the Burton family 10 years ago. The difference is like heaven and earth. The news started to spread, and with it, the legend spread about the Burton family did not suffer any harm when destroying the nearly 500,000 enemies. Rumors got even more bizarre and spread that the Burtons has built an indomitable army and that they took the protection of the kingdom upon their shoulders. Even the Baron, who was rescued by Robin from the attack of the 60,000-strong army, confirmed these rumors and exaggerated the extent of the strength of the army that came to defend him, even telling his family members to walk around the kingdom and spread legends about the might of the Burton's army, thinking that he would repay them the favor this way. The Baron and his family spared no effort in all kinds of ass-kissing techniques. As the simple citizens celebrate that their kingdom has acquired a new shield and sword, and as the higher-ups rearranging their calculations on how to deal with the rising superpower that is the Burton family. Another piece of fresh news was released that shook the kingdom again. The Burton family has declared both the Rufus family and the Tai family traitors because they refused to participate in the defense against the huge attack on their respective duchies, and that they do not deserve to live under the same sky with them. It was also announced that they target the bloodline of the 2 families only and do not want problems with the residents of the lands that belong to the 2 families, and that after the Burtons take the 2 families' lands, the locals will be treated as honored citizens under the authority of the Burton family. Even cats and dogs in the streets can see that this is just an excuse. The Burton family has already sent a request for support to all the noble families that inhabit the lands of the 2 duchies, but they did not wait for anyone and started their battles alone. They simply did not need anyone. Given the history of the 3 families, which is full of problems and blood, it is clear that the Burton family wants to take advantage of the momentum they gained by destroying their old enemies. But the first thing that comes to mind is, the Burton family destroyed 3 armies with a total of nearly 500,000 soldiers. But instead of resting and celebrating, they issued another huge war? If a duchy's army had gone through the same battles, they would need to rest and resupply their shorts for at least another 10 years before they think of even moving again. But the Burtons still have what it takes for it. Even the higher-ups around the kingdom had to give in. It appears that the legends that widespread earlier had not been far from the truth. The worst-case scenario for the two Marquis families since the Burton family's rocket rise has happened. After hearing the news, and knowing that two armies from the Burton family are coming toward them, the two families have issued a call to summon every man and woman capable of fighting in their lands and arm them with anything that can shed blood. And they also sent messages and pleas to seek support from all their allies and all the nobles around them to send their armies to stand with them against the Burton tyrants. They even began sending voice messages to their acquaintances from the royal family asking for mediation and protection against the family that thinks they are the new kings. But all their efforts failed. Chapter 182, Absolute Victory. No one listened to the compulsory summons call to the army except those that bear the family name. As for the rest of the citizens and small families in the lands of the two families, they completely ignored it, with even those who were already serving in the standing army began to escape in one way or another. They said it wasn't their fight as began to look forward to the day when they would become vassals of the Burton family. The economic renaissance that took place in the city of Jura and the surrounding lands were not hidden from anyone. The Burton family lands are heaven where no one sleeps hungry. The two families didn't like that very much and started dispatching troops to the near cities to force the recruiting process, but they were met with riots instead, and many died in the process. Losing hope in them and not wanting to exhaust their current army before the Burtons arrive, they gave up on them, while starting to toss out promises and threats about what will happen after the calamity is over. As for all their allies and friends from the other noble families, they refused to send in support as well. Not one soldier arrived to help. Had this happened before helped them, no doubt. Actually, they already made preparation to support the Tai family when they though the Burtons are coming for them before, and was ready to go all in with their allies. But after testing the Burton family's real power against the three armies of Lying Water Kingdom, after they became national heroes, no thank you. The royal family also replied that this was a personal matter that had nothing to do with them. And if they are really traitors that didn't help, then they deserve it. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Meanwhile, St. David and his army have already reached the lands of the Tai family, and a day later Patriarch Brian also reached the lands of Marquis Rufus, and they began to directly pass through all the castles and cities on their way. If this had happened earlier, everyone living in these lands would have stepped up to defend with all their might, so that a foreign army would not enter their lands and shame them. Every city and every fortress would have attacked using whatever they have to slow down the invasion. But not this time. Most cities welcomed the Burton family's army by throwing roses instead of arrows. Especially St. David's army who was attacking the Tai family. He wasn't like Patriarch Brian who seemed to love collecting cities along his way and would often go sideways. St. David Burton was keeping a straight line with a quick march right towards the Tai headquarters at their main city. Seeing that the invasion was serious and that no one came to the rescue, the two families sent messengers to negotiate with David and with Patriarch Brian. But all the messengers were killed. The response was too direct. The Burton family did not come for lands, taxes, or punishments. They came to kill. Under the banner of victory or death, the saints and knights of the two families led sporadic and swift attacks on the two incoming armies with the intention of exhausting them. But the presence of the Fire and Wind Knights notified this plan completely and even reversed it against them after many of their knights ended up being killed in every attack. On the fourth day of the invasion, Marquis Tai assembled an army of 50,000 soldiers, 90% of whom were surnamed Tai, and headed to meet the Burton troops that are approaching the capital of his lands. Although it is considered a suicidal move to march with such a small army to battle the Burtons, which were already famous for being specialized in destroying armies much larger than their own, it was not in his hand. Even the savage mercenaries that are greedy for gold all the time refused to join him. Now all he could count on were the 13 saints in his family and his personal strength as a level 29 saint. But his dreams were smashed to pieces after a quarter of an hour from the start of the battle. The Burton family's army was simply too strong for them to handle. The 50,000 of his soldiers surrendered almost immediately after the Fire Knights began to move and killed a few thousand of them. Then they went on and attacked the Tai family's knights and saints directly, killing most of them using their teamwork and the overbearing might of the three major heavenly law techniques, and using the level 25 Saint David as the head of the spear against the other enemy saints. But unfortunately, the Marquis himself, two other high-leveled saints, three middle-leveled saints, and a few high-leveled knights managed to escape before they were completely besieged. Saint David and his army did exactly what Robin asked, and even some more, a legendary crushing victory with no losses. In this battle, no talismans were used. The Tai family, which has maintained their position for thousands of years as a Marquis family, is no more. The family that looked at everyone with disdain, the family that attacked and seized a large piece of the Burton's lands 20 years ago without needing a reason other than they were stronger, has completely fallen in 4 days. And without the shedding of a drop of blood or the loss of a single gold coin worth of equipments or talismans. The news of the conquest of the Tai family, which was described as unique in history, spread like wildfire. The elimination of a huge Marquis family, as if they were walking for a picnic. Another legend was added to the military achievements of the Burton family, and their image blazed in front of everyone even more. But the sons of the Rufus family did not receive the news the same way as the others. Every word they heard about this matter sounded like a death sentence. Especially the news that says that all those who bear the name of the Tai family were sent to work in the mines or to be sold in the slave markets. The position of the Rufus family at present was not much better, even though Patriarch Brian has only 70,000 soldiers and still has not reached the heart of their capital yet. So far they have only been able to assemble 60,000 soldiers, and their morale was already extremely low before. Then what morale to speak of right now after this news? When they lose the inevitable loss, will they be treated the same? But the animosity between the Burton family and the Tai family is well known and justified. It can be said that the Tai family started bullying 20 years ago and killed tens of thousands of the Burtons. They basically have their number back then, and some could even say that they deserve what happened. But what about them? What did the Rufus family do to deserve this fate? And one day after the news of the downfall of Marquis Tai, when everyone's morale was at its lowest point, Marquis Tai personally arrived in their main family city with a few saints and a handful of knights. He decided that this would be his last stronghold and came to fight with them to the last breath. Perhaps a miracle will happen after uniting the powers of the upper icons. Marquis Maximus Rufus took advantage of this high level of support and went out to address his soldiers and the people of the city to raise their spirits that they have hope now, but unfortunately for him, not one smile appeared and no excited shout rose for his speech. In fact, the situation got worse. As everyone started talking that harboring the Tai family's descendants was an additional provocation to the Burton family and that their punishment would now be doubled. The idea of victory never crossed anyone's mind. Just how bad the defeat was and how ugly the consequences will be. On that very day, news began to spread around the city that the dispute with the Burton family was due to the stupid son of the Marquis, who had caused problems with Caesar Burton in the past. He also made matters worse and tried to kill an important person from the Burton family inside the Bradley Military Institution and once more in the middle of the streets of Jura. The news also stated that other than this, the Burtons have no other issue with the Rufus family. They only want justice for the repeated provocation. It was Patriarch Brian who announced that at the cities he captured, but it was unknown who was the one that spread the news among the public and among the members of the army in such a fast and efficient manner. As for its effect on the public, it can be imagined. Our family is threatened with extermination because of the idiot son of the Marquis? Is that it? Chapter 183 Surrender? Their fear turned into hatred. The shiver in their spines turned into boiling blood in their veins. The city started a revolt. People went out in the streets, burning everything in it, and attacking the fortified inner area where the Marquis and his close family lived. The soldiers also laid down their arms, refusing to participate in the incoming battle, and demanded that Remus, son of Marquis Rufus, must be handed over to the Burton family as an offering and to kick out the refugees from the Tai family from their lands, then start to negotiate with the Burtons after that. Facing such a general outburst just 2 days before the decisive confrontation, the Marquis ordered the knights to go out to the streets and kill all the rebels and behead every traitor who refuses to obey orders in the army. But they refused. After 2 or 3 days they will die in battle or live homeless in the corners of some foreign lands as refugees anyway. So why would they kill their own kin now? For what? Nothing would change if the public carried their weapons or not. Also, how can they punish them when they are also thinking the same thing? Former Marquis Tai gazed down from the palace balcony at the city that was burning even before the enemies could reach it, and saw how the Rufus family knights were so indecisive. Are those the ones who he threw his all with? How are those going to defend the city versus the Burtons when they already burning it? But where else would he go? No one in the kingdom would choose to refugee him and make enemies out of the Burtons for no reason. Even the royal family abandoned him. If this city also falls, then he will be doomed to live as a stray dog with no home and be hunted down everywhere he goes. Blood rushed to his head, and with a fit of rage he ordered his knights and saints to go down immediately to carry out the orders of Marquis Rufus and take control of the city and restore order before the hostile army reached them. All the Tai family knights and saints and the city moved and started attacking the revolting citizens with full force. But his decision proved to be the worst decision that could be made at the moment. The knights of the Rufus family finally moved, but this time to defend their families from the outsiders who were committing crimes in their own city. They attacked the few Tai family knights and killed them all. Seeing their relatives killed, the Tai family saints attacked the knights of the Rufus family in a fit of rage, but their numbers were simply too large for them to handle, and a few Rufus family saints came to help. A massive battle broke out inside the city, but it also subsided in the blink of an eye. The results are that only Marquis Tai was the only one left alive of his family's upper icons. Afraid of his life, he quickly retreated to take shelter in the person who came to support, to Marquis Maximus Rufus, and to complain to him about what happened and demanded to kill the traitors. But when he entered the War Council dome, he found Marquis Maximus Rufus still sitting on the main seat of the oval table. But this time a long blade pierced his heart from behind, and behind him stood Julius Rufus looking at him with fierce eyes like a hungry wolf. The level 28 saint and the second most powerful saint in the family has finally made a move. Betrayal. The word exploded in Marquis Tai's head as he turned around and rushed towards the city walls to try to escape. But all the saints and knights of the Rufus family chased him down for 2 full hours until they finally caught him and cut off his head. The madness didn't stop there. All the sons of the former Marcus, including Remus and all his close associates of knights and saints, were captured over the next 2 days and were publicly beheaded. After 2 days, when Patriarch Brian arrived at the city's doorstep, he did not find an army trying to stop him. Rather, he found all the doors open, and in front of them, many knights and saints were lined up in a full bowing position. In front of them are more than 100 heads placed on spears, and under each head, the name of its owner was written with blood. This is exactly the situation as I see it. The patriarch called Robin and began telling him what is happening in the lands of the Rufus family. And now the new representative of the family, Julius Rufus, has completely surrendered. Honestly, their strength freaks me out. I don't know if he did that on purpose. But Julius Rufus has arranged his men in a manner that is very intimidating even in bowing position. The numbers of knights and saints here are too much. None of them decided to leave the city, and I fear none of them will leave it if we attack now. If they decide to fight to the last breath, from behind the city walls, they would have caused us a lot of losses. What do you think we should do now? Excellent. Everything is excellent. We should accept their surrender, of course, provided that all the saints and knights and their families swear allegiance to us and not leak our secrets. Tell them we will help and strengthen their family, and give them even more lands to rule if they worked well under our banner. The reply came quickly. Boy, honestly tell me the truth. Were you expecting this? Asked the patriarch, leaving the saints and the knights of the Rufus family still in bowing position. Robin was the one who told him to take it easy in his march towards them as much as possible and just try to show the strength of the army. And now with his arrival, he found this sight that he would never have dared to dream of one day. Marcus Maximus Rufus. This person would not have bothered to greet him if he had seen him in the streets 20 years ago, and now his head is placed on a spike in front of his city as a sacrifice to calm his anger and stop the war. The patriarch until now still has not been able to comprehend what is going on. Ha ha. I just had a hunch. An old family such as them would refuse to get exterminated because of such a silly reason. Or that's what I was hoping at least. I think they do still have smart and decisive people in their family, and those people will be one of our strongest allies in the future. The important thing is, if they accept our terms, send them to the Oath Pyramid in Jura and send a saint from our family to accompany them and follow through the whole process until the last of them swears the right oath. You have Billy in your army, right? Send him with them. He would be perfect for the task. Send wolves to our empty city? What if they tried to escape or make a move on the city? No. I will wait for the Fire Legion and the rest of the family's saints to gather here and send them with them as escorts. The patriarch immediately refused. No need. They surrendered on their own. If they wanted to escape, they would have done that already. As for plying any tricks, just make sure you encircle the city and have the families of saints and knights under house arrest before they leave to Jura. That will be enough to make sure they won't play any games. Arrest their families, muttered the patriarch. Honestly, I thought about it the moment you suggested sending them with Billy alone, but I am afraid to try something like this. I fear that the peaceful situation may turn into war and all of them attack us. The numbers of knights and saints by my side are not that many to try to force something on them. And seeing the knights and saints of the Tai family, I think I would still have a hard time even if do have much more backup. Don't worry, they wouldn't choose the fighting option unless we go too far. If they wanted to fight, they wouldn't have killed their Marquis and their backup from the Tai family. Just know that if you are afraid, then they are terrified. Do it as I told you, and you won't find any resistance. So be it. The patriarch didn't argue anymore as he closed the communication line, looked towards the magnificent sight of all those saints and knights bowing in front of him one last time as if he wanted to burn it into his memory, then walked toward Julius Rufus, who was 2 levels stronger than him, with shaky steps, but excited mind. Chapter 184 Mila's Thoughts 1. Hundreds of kilometers to the east. Robin is sitting on his bed in his own tent. The faint glow of the ring on his hand has finally disappeared. Hm? Who was this, Robin? Mila, who was lying next to him in her revealing underwear, asked in a low voice. Just another moment, and I will answer, my beautiful Mila. Robin chuckled, then put his soul sense into his ring again. Peon, can you hear me? Yes. Father, give me your orders. Words that popped into Robin's head were from Peon. The patriarch's army will stay in the lands of the Rufus family for quite a few days until the matters of the oath, stabilizing authority, and resources keys handover, etc., is done. I know that these people have almost annihilated your family, but as they surrendered, I can't have you kill them all. You may search for the familiar faces that hurt you most and kill them. Even if they are saints, don't hesitate to vent your anger and close that page of your history. In the meantime, I want you to begin to search for your kin. A good part of them must have been sold into slavery in the Duchy of Bradley, especially in the lands of the Rufus family. You can take full advantage of the Wind Legion members with you in this mission and reallocate a few thousand soldiers of the army to help you. Make them work for their food instead of sitting in tents. Gather what you can from your family and buy the freedom of whomever you can. There is no limit to the amount of gold you can use. Oh, your old family lands are under Galen's control now after he attacked the Lying Water Kingdom. Go there and look for any surviving members of your Camden family, and also gather the small families who have sworn their allegiance to you. I think you get the idea. Gather them all back under your banner, and do it quickly. A small reply came from Peon, after which he paused for a few seconds before muttering, "Thank you. Thank you." Robin didn't know that Peon burst into tears in these moments of silence. In fact, even Peon hadn't thought of freeing and gathering his people until this moment. He knows that there are likely hundreds if not thousands of them are alive somewhere. After achieving victory, selling the defeated enemies as slaves is much more profitable than killing them, especially in the wars that start for benefits no vengeance. But freeing a large number of particular slaves would surely cost a lot of gold and human resources in the searching process. However, Robin opened the gates to all the resources for him. Then Peon continued, "I will gladly accept the matter about freeing my people, but please don't worry about my revenge. Father, if I found that it would cause harm to your plans or ignite the war again, I will just forget about it. I have my new life now, and it isn't half bad." Good. Robin smiled from ear to ear hearing this. Then he ended the call and exclaimed, what a nice day. Hey, what is going on over there? Is everything all right? Mila asked again, this time in an angry tone. Robin turned to her and looked at her exposed body from top to bottom, then nodded vigorously and seriously. Yes, there are many things that happened and many things are going to happen. A lot of great news. But it's so secret I can't say it out loud like this. Someone might hear us. Lay on your back and open your legs and let me whisper the news between them. It's my new secret communication technique. A communication technique that needs for opening my legs, huh? Mila asked with a charming smile, then slapped Robin on the forehead, dropping him off the bed. Keep the news for yourself and tell me after marriage then. Damn it, woman. If you don't want to do it with me, then get the hell out of my bed, or at least wear something. How many times am I going to say it to you? I'm a man of flesh and blood. Stop doing this. Robin got up irritated and threw a pillow at her. Mila has started following this nerve-damaging method recently. When she sees him heading to sleep, in seclusion, or any place where he is alone in general, she goes and spends time around him almost without any clothes, tempting him to do everything with her. And indeed, everything is available, except for the last step. This is what you have gained on yourself, you selfish bastard. Mila grabbed the same pillow and threw it at him. Me? What did I do? Robin asked, surprised, and let the pillow hit his face. What did you do? Tell me, what is the matter with all those saints who appeared in the Burton family in the recent years, huh? All of them had their energy aura and laws techniques have changed. Each of them could fight someone a whole level higher than him now. You are saying that this happened without your interference? Do you think I am blind? I can't believe you invented something like this for saints and didn't tell me. Your fiancé. Mila exploded, then took a deep breath and continued. I already swore on an oath tablet years ago to keep your secrets before I was allowed to start working on the talismans. Why are you still hiding things from me that many others know? It's not fair. Even if I'm not your fiancé, I'm still working hard for you. You cold-hearted bastard. It's about that. Robin started to rub his head in embarrassment at Mila's explosion. It seems that she had been fed up and was waiting for an opportunity to let it all out. Then he continued. Since when has this matter bothered you? Months? Years? Why didn't you speak until now? If you were interested, you would have noticed on your own. Mila said in a low voice, and then I looked in front of her again, her naked alluring back facing him. Robin looked at Mila's gorgeous back, then gave a long sigh and said nothing. He had no defense for himself. She simply didn't cross his mind as he tried to come up with ideas to strengthen the Burton family and his adopted children. You are always so honest, to the point of being blatantly rude at times, and you tell the truth no matter the outcome. So let me ask you something, Mila continued. Now that you have come this far, strengthened the family, and eliminated all your old enemies, added more lands and riches, you have basically nothing in mind after this war. Would you ever set the wedding date? Once again, Robin was left speechless. He will go to another world after the war, and there is a big chance he would never return. So how does he choose the date of the wedding? On top of that, he knows that even if he did not have this task, he would not have appointed the wedding date either, and he would have given other excuses such as being busy with research or something else like that. In fact, he had the opportunity to complete the marriage more during the past few years, but he was finding excuses for himself to postpone. That is what I thought, Mila muttered after Robin's long silence. I'm starting to feel like you see me as a gold digger, and that I'm stuck with you to get something out of you for myself or my family. Robin, you haven't forgotten who I am, have you? Chapter 185 Mila's Thoughts 2. Mila Bradley, the first successor of the Bradley's Duke family, the #1 beauty in the kingdom, and also the #1 genius in terms of martial arts, and the youngest human to achieve level 25 of sainthood in the last 10,000 years of the 8 Kingdoms history. No, Mila, I haven't forgotten how you are. Robin sighed and spoke at last. Even I didn't know that. Mila was surprised by Robin's reply. So what is wrong with you? It is clear you have searched well, and you know you won't find a better woman than me. Why are you still behaving so cautiously with me? What else do I need to do or prove? You need to prove nothing, Mila. It is just that I'm not of the romantic type. Don't expect too much from me in this regard, Robin said after rubbing his head for a few seconds. I don't expect you to be romantic. I know that we weren't engaged because we were in love, but at least our relationship should always be one with respect. As you see me as the best fit for you, I also see you as the only man who deserves to see me naked. I contribute my time, talent, and soul power to enlarging and managing the Rune Academy for you. I worked hard every single day and finally became the best rune master after you, surpassing even Zara. And I contribute my strength by fighting for you in your unstopping wars starting from Doliver back then and until this very moment. And what do I receive for all of this? You are giving your best creations to old men and women you have only seen once or twice in your life, rather than me who swore to keep your secrets. Even the energy cultivation technique you developed when you were still a kid, you barely gave it to me when you decided to hand it over to your thousands of special forces. You never even speak to me about your ideas or future plans. You think I'm too stupid to understand them? I know you think you are the smartest person in the world, and you probably are, but this is too much. Is this the respect you show me after everything I'm doing for you? Mila shouted without a pause. Again, Robin didn't know what to say. In fact, he himself doesn't know why he doesn't try to help her in anything personal, even with the fact that her being stronger will be better for him. Maybe because she just doesn't appear in his mind when he decides those things. Maybe because he doesn't have deep feelings for her. Maybe because he hates being the weak side in the relationship and wants to catch up with her faster so that he imposes his will on her and not be thrown off the bed as is happening to him now. But it certainly did not occur to him that she is following him because she was a gold digger or that she wants to drain him for her benefit. In fact, he is the one who benefits from her since the beginning of this relationship. Never mind, keep your silence. Mila stood up and started getting dressed. Consider the marriage canceled. I will help you until all your present wars are over and you go back to Jura City. Then I will leave for my family's home. Mila, don't exaggerate now. A while ago you were sleeping next to me naked. What happened to you all of a sudden? Robin was trembled after hearing this. This is not a product of the moment, but a decision I made a while ago. You treated me like that when you still needed the Bradleys. Then what will happen after having such force around you now? I'm not that cheap. I hope that with me gone out of your sight, and with no obligation or benefit needed from my family, you will think more objectively about this matter, Robin, and if one day you realize my worth, wanted me for me, and decided to treat me with the respect I deserve, you know where to find me. Until then, consider the topic closed, and it will not be opened again. Mila spoke, slowly as she put on her last piece of clothing, then walked over to Robin and patted him on the cheek. There is another thing. Who said I'd stop sleeping naked next to you? Until I go back to my family home, I'm going to sleep like this every night next to you. You may take it as my revenge. Ha ha ha. Robin followed her, but with full focus as she swayed out of the tent, then about 5 minutes later gave a long sigh and said one word, women. 1 week after this conversation, Mila broke through to level 26 of sainthood. Breakthroughs in the realm of sainthood need decades to accomplish, especially the levels above 25. But only 8 years after she broke through to level 25, Mila achieved just that. The energy cultivation technique already had its effect and shortened the time needed by a few years. But this speed while using the Fire Shard's heavenly law technique that was full of holes and errors amazed Robin greatly. If she continues at the same pace, she will undoubtedly be able to reach the top of the sainthood before the age of 250 and will have a real chance to discover the third level of her technique and breakthrough to level 31 to become the 9th sage in history who took this difficult path after the ancestors of the 8 royal families. But what surprised him most was that on the same week she broke through to level 26 in the first try and without the help of a spirit revitalizing pill. And after that she went back to his tent, got off her clothes all the way to her revealing underwear, and slept next to him almost naked again, as if nothing had happened. Chapter 186 Tears of Joy and Terror. In the days that followed the surrender of the Rufus family, there were much more than just Robin's romance problems. But the winds of change hit everyone. General David divided his army into battalions of 10,000 soldiers each and deployed them in every corner of the lands of the Tai family and clean it. On their way to the capital, they took a straight line and subdued just a few cities. So their task this time was to subdue the rest of the cities and the minor nobles in the lands, and to search for everything bearing the name Tai, to send him to work forever in the mines, or to sell him as a slave. No one was safe in this campaign. As for Patriarch Brian, things went better with him after the Saints and the Knights of the Rufus family agreed to take the oath in Jura City under the supervision of Billy Burton and leave their families under the Patriarch's protection until they come back. And everything went smoothly after they did. They all returned from the Jura family as loyal and eternal followers of the Burton family, whether they liked it or not, and their new representative Julius Rufus began to inform the Patriarch of every great matter and small detail in his lands, and revealed to him all the secrets of the family and cities without holding a tiny bit back. Seeing their sincerity, Patriarch Brain returned them their families, stopped any kind of arresting or execution activities, and even gave them the secondary law technique that Robin made for their followers, and reassured them that the position of the head of their family Marquis would remain the same, and even ordered to have the lands of the Tai family be under their temporary control as well. As for Peon, with the tremendous help that Robin provided him in terms of money and men, his mission went smoothly. He sent advertisements and posters for the entire Duchy of Bradley saying that he was willing to buy anyone that pair the family name Camden at 10 times the price of an ordinary slave, and he sent Knights of the Wind Legion to investigate every slave market and each slave merchant. And he even sent a small army to the former Camden lands as they began to search for more of his kin. And with this, he managed to gather more than 4,000 sons for the Camden family without using much time. And there are still indications that he will gather even more. Long-separated sons and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sister, finally managed to meet again. But after the initial hugs and cries of joy, terror struck their hearts. The first reaction of the members of the Camden family when they found their masters hurrying to sell them and gather them in one place is that the Rufus family regretted turning them into slaves and wanted to thoughtfully annihilate every single one of them. But even though none of them did something about it, there was not a single knight or a saint among them, as they all died in that battle, and many of them had their wills broken after living as slaves for more than a decade. They just wanted to enjoy each other's company till the slaughter day, but it never came. Finally able to manage some time off, Peon visited the camp and announced his identity and that they are all safe and under his protection as the Wind Legion commander and under the protection of the whole Burton family. All of them went dumbstruck. They have been living as slaves in the Duchy of Bradley for nearly 15 years and know full well what the name Burton means. And they also heard about the legendary Fire, Wind, and Darkness legions that became extremely famous lately, and one of them was the commander of one of the 3 legions. This was too good to be true. Peon kept looking around him, looking into the eyes of his family members, but only seeing self-depreciation and ridicule. No hope and terror even after his announcement. It made his heart ache. This is the consequence of being enslaved for too long. Their spirits are broken. But things got much better when some of the high-class members of the family recognized Peon and affirmed his identity as their prince. Extreme confusion, then extreme joy struck them hard as they started weeping loud. It was all over now. For them, the tragedy of this family has finally reached its end. But in Peon's heart, he knew he would have been like them if his master didn't buy him first. He swore in his heart to return them their lost pride. Happy with the results and busy interacting and reassuring his long-lost kin, Peon even forgot that he got permission to hunt down and kill who hurt him back then. Days passed slowly but full of events. And on the day that marked the passage of an entire month since the end of the conquest of the 2 Marquis families, the Burton family's army disappeared into darkness without warning. A few days later, far east of the Duchy of Alton. Ha! Welcome back, Patriarch. St. David stood up to greet the Patriarch after entering the commander's tent above the hill. Tisk, next time you are the one going for the faraway missions. I'm too old for this. Ha! The Patriarch also chuckled and shook hands with David, then turned to look to the side. You brat. Why did you request to gather the entire army here again at full speed? Do you have information that we will receive another invasion? A few days ago, Robin contacted the Patriarch and St. David and told them to gather all the forces and gather with him as soon as possible, but he did not give reasons. Hee, you look nice too. Uncle, you came at the right time. I will explain everything to you, but won't you introduce us to your friend? Robin smiled, looking at the people who entered behind the Patriarch. Some of them are the saints from the Burton family who went with him, but one of them is an unfamiliar man that he sees for the first time. A handsome-looking middle-aged man with sharp-sided mustaches, and his aura is undoubtedly the strongest in this tent. A level 28 saint. Aha, this one. The patriarch took 2 steps back and put his hand on the stranger's shoulder. Let me introduce you. This is Julius Rufus, the current patriarch of the glorious Rufus family. Little brother Julius, this is Robin Burton I spoke to you about. Robin Burton. Oh no, I mean your excellency, Robin Burton. Julius advanced and gave a small bow. I've always wondered how the Burton family could move their army with the intention of annihilating us because we had shown intent to kill 2 young men. I kept asking myself why would the Burtons become absolute enemies with us when there was no harm done, but when Brother Brian told me about your other identity, I finally understood. Fate has played its game on Maximus and his son. They were sentenced to death since they chose you as a target. Wait, who do you call brother, little boy? The patriarch laughed. Don't believe him. Everyone, Julius Rufus is still not over 500 years old yet. He is a real genius, and surely he'll reach the pinnacle of sainthood one day. Call me big brother, or uncle, you kid. Haha. Oh, looks like the Rufus family would have gone through a change of leadership even if we don't get involved then. There's no need for formalities, Marquis. We are all on the same side now. Maybe that game of fate on your former patriarch will benefit your family even more in the future. Robin laughed in return, but then his face suddenly froze and asked, But may I ask, what are you doing in this tent? Julius Rufus smiled. I'm here for the same reason you said, Your Excellency. I'm here for a better future. We have already sworn allegiance to the Burton family for 1,000 years, and we decided that we will do it in the best way possible. Just hope Your Excellency won't be stingy with us and will grant us this opportunity. Chapter 187 New Plan. Julius's answer made Robin raise his eyebrows. When Marquis Julius learned that we were leaving his lands and regrouping here, he asked to come with us. He said that he will bring with him 9 middle-leveled and high-leveled saints, and he brought with him 400 knights and 40,000 soldiers. I saw no reason to refuse, so I allowed him. The patriarch intervened and explained. Robin became even more surprised. He didn't come alone. Even with the oath that restricted their freedom and made them absolutely loyal, the Burton family was supposed to be hated to the core by them now. And this is exactly why Robin didn't think about calling them to help him in wars anytime soon. There is no point in bringing someone to fight a war in this way. Even if they accepted and executed every order perfectly, morale is what wins you battles, not numbers. They would only be a burden and weakness in the formation and nothing more. The plan was to leave them in their lands to administer it on his behalf and to send him its taxes and riches annually. Maybe even use them as a shield if they ever faced a threat from the north. In his eyes, they were nothing more than that. And perhaps with the passage of years, they will forget the humiliation that was brought on them from this war, and the benefits from being a vassal of the Burtons would soften their hearts. Only in this way the 2 families might get closer to each other, and only after that would he take their presence into account when he plans a war. But now they are the ones who took the initiative to join him. Robin looked long at Julius Rufus, who was still smiling in front of him. This guy isn't simple. If it were up to me, I would have brought with me the rest of my saints and the family's knights. But as Your Excellency know, we need troops now in our lands now more than ever to help you secure the Burtons' position as our new masters despite the acts of some small rebellions of a minority fools in the family. And also to help Your Excellency in securing the control of the former lands of the Tai family. There is a lot going on there. And it got worse when Brother David withdrew his army. Marcos spoke to Robin. Oh, of course, I understand. If you didn't keep enough troops there yourself, I would have ordered the return of part of your army. You have obviously thought of everything, St. Julius. It seems I will enjoy your company. Robin muttered, smiling, and then pointed toward the table. Please take a seat. All of you, gentlemen. Let us begin our meeting. Here we are. Patriarch Brian moved to the nearest chair. Can you now tell us why you have gathered the army here? Please be patient, Uncle Brian. Can any of you make a full report about our combined army? Just so everyone knows the military situation before we go any further, said Robin. Then let me do it. If we count the army that remained here, the one with the patriarch, and mine, and the army of the Rufus family, and the forces that came here as support from the new lands as per your request, Then let me summarize the situation for you. St. David stood and headed for the large map drawn on the ground for the area and began to move pieces of it. We currently have 320,000 soldiers, including about 20,000 cavalry, 1,000 knights who use minor heavenly laws, about 3,200 knights who use major heavenly laws, 21 saints, and finally, about 70,000 fire explosion talismans, with an abundance of all the other kinds talismans with a few thousand each. Everyone gave a long sigh after hearing those numbers, especially Marquis Julius. 3,200 knights who use major heavenly laws. What kind of concept is this? In his way here, he kept asking Patriarch Brian about everything that concerns the Burtons, and the Patriarch wasn't stingy in his replies. His mind was blown when he heard that the three famous legions all use major heavenly law. Until this moment, he just can't find it in himself to accept it. Even ignoring their major heavenly laws, the army now contains more than 4,000 knights. These numbers of knights do not even appear in the wars between the duchies. And 70,000 talismans? How can any army withstand the reign of 70,000 fire talismans? Only now not only did he was assured that his decision was the best, but it was also the only one. Good. Robin nodded with a smile, reassured after hearing the current state of the army. And you all don't have to worry about the fire explosion talisman situation either. We have much more than just 70,000 now. Oh, the Patriarch was surprised. Are you sure? I was supervising the rune masters before the war began, and there was only the quantity we took with us. Where did more come from? I issued an order that all the rune masters are to only and intensively work on the fire explosion talismans. 40 days have passed since, and a week ago the first batch of their products arrived. The quantity that reached us was 120,000 level 6 fire explosion talismans and a few thousand level 10 fire explosion talismans. What? How can the 480 masters of inscriptions produce an average of 4,000 talismans per day? Everyone was shocked by this number, 120,000 talismans in 1 month. This is normal after practicing the soul-strengthening technique all these years. Now the worst one of them can make 5 level 6 fire explosion talismans per day 1. And many of the rune masters can make up to 15 level 6 fire explosion talismans per day. When we take out all the more difficult runes from the equation and focus their entirety on the level 6 fire explosion talismans, this result is only to be expected. Robin answered straight away and then continued. So we currently have 190,000 talismans of the level 6 fire explosion talismans. The Patriarch muttered to himself, this was just too much. Then asked, what do you intend to do with all this? Robin stood up and walked up to the map, then moved the pieces east. We'll conquer the lying water kingdom. As I expected, David sighed. I also think it's a good opportunity, but I don't think Duke Galen Bradley and Duke Raymond Alton would be happy when you break the agreement like that. The Patriarch knocked on the table. Even Mila furrowed her eyebrows a little after hearing this. The agreement was that Robin would take part pieces of their old lands in exchange for his assistance in helping them divide the lying water lands between the two of them. If Robin broke that agreement and jumped in with them, he will surely demand a piece of the new cake. This will mess everything up. You think the agreement didn't break when we had to fight 3 armies with a total of 500,000 soldiers for them? If we kept the original agreement and kept watching, there might not be anything called the Bradley or the Alton duchies. Robin snorted as he rested his back on the chair. Then he continues, but don't think too much. It's not like I want to break our relations with them or something like that. I was in contact with both dukes during this last period. After our great victories here, the pressure greatly eased on them, and they were able to advance again and manage to control 50% of the 2 duchies they are invading. But their fire explosion talismans completely ran out. And the Middle Duchy Harris gave up the dreams of the counter-conquest after we destroyed their main army here, and began to send reinforcements again to the other 2 duchies. Even the other noble families there seemed to finally realize the bad situation and began to send reinforcements too. With this new situation, it became impossible for Duke Galen and Duke Raymond to keep pushing forward. They both had to stop at where they are and try to fortify a few citadels to defend what they got. But for how long can they hold their position with no talismans? There is one more option, though. We intervene. If we cut through the Duchy of Harris and put pressure on the other two duchies from the middle. That will give Duke Gallen and Duke Raymond a chance to catch their breath and move forward again. The situation there is that bad? Mila asked, worried. Her father did not tell her anything every time she tries to contact him, for fear that she would worry about them and try to catch up with them in the fire pit they throw themselves in. Chapter 188, One Last Dance. Patriarch Brian nodded heavily. It is natural that their talisman's supply would end. We saw with our own eyes part of the enemy's strategies to increase the consumption of the fire explosion talismans and know how effective it is. The fact that they occupied 50% of their target before their talisman's stoke ended indicates the strategically genius of both of them. Then, what is the plan? Did you agree with them on something? Yes. I have already agreed about the guidelines with both of them. We will attack the middle duchy, the Duchy of Harris. This will prevent any reinforcements for both sides and make the situation easier for Duke Gallen and Duke Raymond, declared Robin, and then added, both of them will hold their ground for now and watch from the side as he cut through the Duchy of Harris until they receive support from us. Support? What is there to support them with more than engaging in the war ourselves? St. David asked. Even when we take the Duchy of Harris of the picture, they will still be in a hostile land with no talisman. Robin reminded, then continued. They will need talismans to keep moving forward and take control over more lands with minimal human losses. And the support I was talking about is to allocate next month's output of talismans and send 60,000 level 6 fire explosion talismans, each to help them continue their way forward. Mila rolled her eyes at him. Then just send them the 190,000 fire explosion talismans you already have as well, and it will be enough. There will be no need for you to march the Burton army and invade the Duchy of Harris. Actually, if you kept providing them 120,000 fire explosion talismans a month, they will be able to invade the Duchy of Harris as well. Everyone's features froze. Actually, they thought of this the moment Robin mentioned the matter of attacking the Duchy of Harris, but they kept their mouths shut because they also understood Robin's true intentions. Robin looked at her with a confused look. Who the hell told you that I'm running a charity here? The Bradleys and the Altons are not his subjects. They didn't swear on an oath tablet to follow the Burtons like the Rufus family did. In his eyes, they are temporary allies, and might even say respectable rivals. So why would he keep feeding them hundreds of thousands of fire explosion talismans? Why would he add more fame and military achievements under their name? Why would he give them more lands when he can take it himself? When everything is over and the two families enjoy their moment of fame and power, and it's time to demand repayment, how much of these lands will the two families be willing to give him? Robin has already made up his mind when he first heard about the situation of the two dukes. I won't go and beg them to give me my share after the war ends. I will go take it myself. I don't need them, they need me. It's time for the Burtons to shine. It's time for me to shine. Also, this might be his last time leading the Burton army. He might as well make it worth remembering. Tiska Wolf in a sheep's skin. Actually, Mila understood his intention about wanting a bigger share from the start, but she just didn't like the act that he was doing it out of love and honor. Ahem. Still, you will give them a total of 120,000 fire explosion talismans, and that isn't a small amount. Spoke the patriarch in a low voice. Not long ago you took from Duke Gallen about 15% of his old land, and from Duke Raymond about 30%. In return, you only gave them 60,000 fire explosion talismans. And now we will use our own army as well to help them take the Duchy of Harris out of the equation. I hope you thought well about this. There were other aspects of the agreement that day that included many more details. Why do you degrade them in lands and talismans only? Robin laughed, then added, anyway, don't worry. My new deal with them doesn't put us in a worse position than before. If that's what you were saying. The patriarch raised his shoulders and rested his back on the chair, feeling satisfied. This brat was better at haggling than him. If he is good with it, then there is nothing he should be worried about. Robin stood up with a smile. Very well. If none of you have any more questions, then start dividing our troops into equal 3 armies. Even the same amount of saints and knights, talisman, everything. After we have eliminated a large portion of the main forces of the Harris family, we won't face any huge disciplined army that requires our full force. We only need to move fast and annihilate the lesser noble families. And we shouldn't walk into their lands in a straight line and risk being surrounded like what happened with Duke Raymond and Duke Gallon. We will enter the duchy from 3 points and eat it from below up. I want every time I look back, I find ruins and burned cities. No noble family should be spared to attack us from behind. Please start the preparations from now. We will start the all-out invasion this week. 2 days after this meeting, the division of the troops into 3 armies equal in everything was completed. Then one of the armies, led by St. David and had Billy with him as his assistant, set out towards the southeast. And the second army, led by Patriarch Brian and his assistant Julius Rufus, moved towards the northeast. Their destination was north and south of the Duchy of Harris, but the routes weren't only passed on that. Both their planned routes had many specifically densely populated cities. There is one more reason for that. It was to cut off aid to and from the 2 neighboring duchies, leaving the middle playground to the third and final army to be led by Robin and assisted by Mila Bradley. After another 4 days, the 3 armies reached the agreed launching points at the borders with the Duchy of Harris, and after communication between the 3 of them, the green light for the invasion was given. In the span of 1 day, the 3 armies stormed the borders guards of the Duchy of Harris at the same time and began attacking all the border cities. In just a day, and before anyone could react, the 3 armies had already taken control of over 10% of the duchy's lands. Fear spread among the citizens of the Duchy of Harris, but not despair. Because the war has been raging in their neighbors' lands for about 2 months, all the nobles inside the Duchy of Harris have put their armies in an active state to prepare themselves for the attack came here too, and to send aid to their 2 neighbor duchies with haste. Right now, in every Marquis family, Earl family, a Viscount family, and even every Baron family, there are standing armies numbering tens of thousands waiting for orders. And the fact that the stupid enemy has entered with 3 separate armies gave them even more courage. Instead of trying to gather a giant army from all the nobles to fight off the 320,000-strong army, now their forces can confront the incoming enemy alone. Even if the incoming enemies are strong, they are still only 100,000 soldiers. How powerful can they be? Even if they won against 1 or 2 noble families, they wouldn't get too far. Or that's what they thought. Chapter 189 Progress. Soon enough, the 2 reasons they used to reassure themselves were proved to not be working well as they thought. Their standing armies didn't help. The enemy's 3 separated armies didn't weaken them. In the same week, the main armies of 3 Baron families and a Viscount family were destroyed. The least one of them had an army of 60,000 strong, and the most of them was 130,000. The battles were decisive and fast. It seemed like the battle was won the moment a Burton army arrives. The survivors of those battles said that even after applying some strategies to nullify the damage of the fire explosion talismans, it was of no use. The fire explosion talismans still rained down on them in huge numbers. It was as if hell had descended upon them. Knowing they're the fire explosion talismans proof strategies, and that trying to use fewer amounts of the fire explosion talismans will damage his own army and maybe even stop him earlier. And in order to give themselves bases to defend and walls to sleep behind in this hostile territory, Rabin was not stingy in using the fire explosion talismans this time. In the 4 confrontations, the Burton family's armies used more than 120,000 fire explosion talismans in total. Like the strike of a whip, Duke Harris suddenly found himself losing 40% of his territory in the first week of the invasion. Despair was finally starting to seep into the hearts of the public. If the invader continues at this pace, they will eat the entire duchy in no time. But the experts are reassuring them that this is just temporary momentum that always happens at the beginning of any invasion, and that the invaders certainly no longer have any talismans, and that they will finally have the chance to counterattack. Indeed, the citizens of the Duchy of Harris began to believe them, and morale began to rise. During the following week, none of the enemy's 3 armies advanced again and contented themselves with consolidating the fortresses that they had controlled in absolute silence, like they already had enough and wouldn't advance another step. Until the news came that 2 of the 3 armies had united and attacked a Marquis family at the center of the duchy, destroying the 170,000-strong army they have been gathering for the counterattack and taking full control of their lands. And then they separated again, and one of the two armies went back to march north as if nothing had happened. The third week has barely started since the invasion began, but the Burton family has already controlled 65% of the duchy's land. But now, finally, the words of their experts are beginning to come true. In that last battle, Robin used more than 60,000 fire explosion talismans, which wiped out his entire stockpile, and is now left with only a few hundred fire explosion talismans. Robin had a difficult decision to make at this point. He had already destroyed a large portion of the Duke Harris family's army within Duke Alton's lands, killing a few saints and hundreds of knights, and destroying a vast army of 300,000 soldiers while seizing most of their war horses and categorized armaments. So if he now moves forward, even regardless of the talismans, there is a good chance that he will be able to exterminate what is left of the Harris family and take hold of the heart of the duchy. But even rabbits bite when cornered. To begin a final fight against the ancient Harris family, who are fighting for survival, and without any fire explosion talismans, will inflict massive losses to the Burtons even if they win in the end. This conquest is for the sake of benefits and influence and is not a matter of life or death for the Burtons, so the victory in this way is not needed. It will be a loss actually. And indeed, in the end, Robin made up his mind and stopped any advancing after that point. But the battles did not stop. Due to the rapid advance, the three armies only cared about the forces of the major families and ignored the smaller subordinate families, and ignored the rebellions of the mortals, simply letting everything burn behind them. So, after another week of fortifications along the front with what was left of the Duchy of Harris, Robin commanded to look back a little and begin to deal with the locals and sub-families. An announcement was made for everyone in the duchy, especially for those who control more than 50 men under them. Its content that the Burtons didn't come here to destroy but to build, not to steal but to enrich, and that they don't want to hurt anyone unnecessarily. If they submitted to their new rulers, their position and their family and follower will be saved. If not, they will either be exterminated or sent to be sold as slaves. As for the benefits offered by Reuben to the sub-families, they were extremely generous that even their duke didn't give them, much less an invader. And most of them already heard about what the Burtons had done in the lands they had taken from Dolliver and the extent of the renaissance they had brought about to the locals there, so they know this announcement was no joke. That's why many of them submitted without a fight. As for those who wanted victory or death, the Wind Legion intelligence did what they have to do with them. It can be said that the slaves market in Jura City has lately become the most crowded market in the entire Black Sun Kingdom. These internal matters and the attempt to subjugate the lands went smoothly for the Burtons, but it provoked the ire of Duke Harris, who considered it an insult to his existence, and that the Burton family had already considered these lands their own. But it was also good news that the invasion has now stopped. The other two lying water dukes on the border also breathed a sigh of relief. At last, they were afraid that the newcomer might try to support his comrades against them and seal one of the fronts first. But thank the heavens that the Burtons were stupid enough to open another front and keep themselves busy there. Now that the three fronts have finally stopped, it's time to coordinate a counterattack to push them back. But the period of dreams and short rest was quickly over. The Altons and Bradley's armies began to move again, using tens of thousands of talismans to slash their way forward like a hot knife in a cheese block. Finally, the two dukes received the level 6 fire explosion talismans that the Burton's rune masters have been working on for a whole month. And because the rune masters didn't have to make level 10 fire explosion talismans this time, the total they made during the month amounted to 140,000 6th level fire explosion talismans. And 70,000 fire explosion talismans were sent to each duke, which is approximately the same number they had when the war started. And after coordination between the two of them, another wave of invasion began against their oblivious enemy. Chapter 191 Last Battle. The people of the Lying Water Kingdom were certain and assured that the two dukes did not have any fire explosion talismans left with them after they fought several battles against them during the past month. Every time the Black Sun Kingdom's forces would try to minimize its losses if they win and retreat if they get hammered, they didn't fire a single fire explosion talisman at them no matter what. Even when a Marquis attacked one of Duke Raymond's fortress, killed a few thousands, and forced them to abandon on their mighty fortresses, there was no reply whatsoever. But now, Out of nowhere, the nightmare returned. They were surprised when the rain of fire explosion talismans fell again upon their heads like thunderbolts, destroying their formations as they destroyed their body parts. The advance was so sudden and so fast that no one was able to react in time. In just 3 days, the two dukes and their armies had arrived at the capitals of the two duchies. But they were both much stingier in using the fire explosion talismans in their advance than the Burtons, which caused too many deaths among their ranks doing so. And when they finally arrived near the capital, they had the same choice to make as Robin: to wait and plan a more efficient, bloodless way, or finish the war in one stroke. And they both chose just the opposite from Robin. It was time to end this. Taking more time means more variables. No one knows when the royal family of the Lying Water finally have enough and declare a royal war. At least they must sever one of their arms before that happens. The cruelest battle since the beginning of the war has finally broken out outside the gates of the two duchies' capital cities. Hundreds of thousands of human bodies clashed to create an epic of fire and blood. All that is left of the talismans were used in both battles, but they were not enough to come close to victory. The situation was just as Robin predicted. Battles like this, battles when such a huge family is on the brink of life or death, strength and strategies on the battlefield won't matter much. It is just like when the Tai family attacked the Burtons and broke their army, but the Burtons still managed to fight back desperately and hold enough lands to stay as an earldom. The Marquis family didn't see that coming. Not the Burtons themselves actually knew they can do it. Being emotionally charged is far more dangerous than being armored with all the weapons in the world. The two battles at the capitals lasted for 3 consecutive days, and hundreds of thousands of victims fell on all sides. Finally, at the dawn of the 4th day, the results of the first battle appeared. The Duke of Bradley managed to win a difficult victory after losing half of his army that reached the capital. Of the 500,000 troops he gathered and entered the Lying Water Kingdom's lands with, only 150,000 of them left alive. But they inflicted much more damage to their already wounded foes. They were able to kill most of their saints and knights before the rest managed to flee for their lives. And within another 2 hours, the capital was overrun, and small troops were immediately sent to subdue what was left of the duchy. The Bradleys finally managed to breathe a sigh of relief. But it wasn't the case for their allies. Duke Alton's battle went on for an extra day with no clear victor. On the 5th day, the saints of the Alton family managed to deal a decisive blow to the cavalry of their enemy, restraining one of their most important arms, and forcing the enemy army to retreat slowly and fortify behind the formidable walls of the capital. This wasn't the best possible idea for the retreating Duke, but it was the only one. As soon as they entered and closed the gates, Duke Raymond Alton gave the green light to besiege the capital, using flaming arrows and catapults, and all possible means to destroy the capital and make life in it impossible. And he had what he wanted. 1 week later, the capital also fell, and no one survived except for some saints and knights from the enemies who managed to escape. And they both fled directly to the Middle Duchy, the Duchy of Harris, to serve as their last hope to try to recover what they lost. But they just didn't know. The situation there was no better. Robin had already requested an urgent batch from the Talisman Masters and told them to send whatever they managed to make until now. And the first batch had arrived. 60,000 fire explosion talismans has refreshed his stockpile. While Duke Harris was delighted with the strong saints and knights reinforcements that came to him, he received terrible news. The 3 armies of the Burton family had united again, and the united army is now advancing toward his capital. Quickly, the public alarm was launched throughout the rest of his lands, with a forced recruitment order for every male who reached the age of more than 10 years, and every female above 14 years of age. Warning of the fate of their brothers in the north and south, it is time to fight to the end for their lands and their freedom. The movements of the Burton family's army were extremely slow, which helped Duke Harris a lot in gathering more soldiers than he already have. All nobles and non-nobles. Even old women choose to go to the army and defend the capital. Within 1 week of the build-up, the army that was stationed ahead of the Harris capital had already reached a stunning number of more than 920,000 soldiers. And finally, the moment of separation has come. The date of the arrival of the Burton family's army, according to the last report, is today. Enthusiasm and boiling blood in the soldiers' veins overcame the fear of what was to come. The sense of defending the homeland and the family, and struggling for freedom, has overshadowed the horror of the fire explosion talismans. Every one of the million-strong army stood their ground with racing heartbeats, holding in their hands some kitchen knives or wood axes devoured by rust. Today there will be a battle that will tear the heavens apart from screams, and the earth will be wet with blood. Everything depends on this one battle. Finally, the hour when the Burton family's army was supposed to arrive. But no one showed up. Another hour passed, 2-6. Darkness has descended, but the army of invaders still has not come. What is happening here? Duke Harris shouted. No news from the new scouting team? This was the 7th scouting team they sent out after they lost contact with the first 6. It's been over an hour since they left, and he still hasn't heard of where the Burton family's army is now or when they will arrive. Another half-day passed in complete silence. The giant army was still on standby, but the enthusiasm had visibly disappeared. Soldiers below the 3rd level of Energy Foundation and mortals were already starting to feel sleepy. My Lord Duke, my Lord Duke. Someone came rushing on a war horse towards the walls of the capital. Then the knight jumped off him to the top of the wall and knelt before someone sitting on a high throne. I have news from Vaka. Huh? Is this a good time to listen to internal problems? The Duke's features reddened. Leave that aside for now. The city is under attack. The knight shouted before the soldiers took him to the side. A Burton family's army of about 50,000 were about to attack the walls when I ran over here. The city is almost empty of soldiers because they're all here. They must have burned the city down by now. What do you say? The Duke stood up and shouted. The city of Vakata was 100 miles north of the capital, and an army of only 50,000? Wasn't the Burton family's army about 300,000? This was not logical at all. During the next 2 hours, similar reports followed, successively, for other cities were attacked, and an army of 50,000 soldiers was spotted heading towards a 6th city. One of those cities is located just 50 miles behind the capital. Chapter 191 stabbed with his own dagger. Aha! After another day passed, a loud shriek erupted from atop the capital's main gate. The Duke finally understood what was going on around him. The Burton family's army had allowed its spies and scouting squads to keep tabs on their slow march from day one, until they came within a day's distance from the capital. Then they began hunting down and killing the spies and scouting squads. After they made sure no one is watching anymore, they divided themselves into 6 equal armies and encircled the capital, attacking all the towns and villages around it. Taking advantage of the situation as these cities and villages had become defenseless, the operation was carried out with incredible speed and accuracy. In just 48 hours, every inch of the Duchy of Harris, except for the capital, became under the Burtons' rule. Damn it. Duke Harris tried to calm himself a little, but was unsuccessful. Every time he think about it, he feel his blood boiling in his veins. What are these bastards trying to do? What will they gain from controlling villages and cities devoid of equipment and fighting men? This is meaningless. Maybe they want to starve us. One of the saints spoke. Just the thought made the heads turn gray. The capital currently holds about 1 million more mouths to feed. If the plan is really to besiege and starve them, then, if this is the plan, our situation is not so bad. We have made plans for this and gathered enough food for 3 months. And with the army we have, we can organize raids on them every once in a while to steal more supplies, said the saint in charge of the provisions. That's right. If they are depending on the longer breath strategy, then it might not be the worst situation for us. Yep, that's much better than facing a trained, well-equipped army with mortals and farmers. That's not right. Please don't roll out the other possibilities. The military genius that the Burton family has shown so far can rule out that they will only depend on the subject of starvation to achieve victory. Maybe they want to impose a siege until more support comes to them, spoke another one. That is most likely their goal, nodded one of the defeated dukes. But if they think this is like any other city, they are wrong. Whether it's army size, prepared food rations, the numbers of saints and knights, I dare say that as long as the walls are standing and we have an army of this size to defend it, we will never fall. Never. How long can that be? Duke Harris said depressingly, resting his head in his hands. Why doesn't the royal family respond to our distress? Why do they keep saying they can't act without King Geoffrey's orders? So where the hell is the king? The royal family even issued orders to stop any other duchy from helping up directly. We were just trying to delay them so we could get support from the royal family and our allies. But for some reason, we seem to have been abandoned. It's time to forget about them and defend our lands ourselves. Another defeated duke responded. Strong. At that moment, a clear voice echoed, /strong. People of the Duchy of Harris, listen carefully to this decree. What? Where does that sound come from? The saints tried to search around for the source, but to no avail. The sound was so clear as if it was right next to them, and yet its source could not be determined. The city of Yark, the city of Tarva, the village of Washin, the village of... The voice added another 12 names before he continued. These cities and villages are under the Burton family control now. What? Why didn't anyone tell us? Is this why they didn't arrive at the appointed time? Panic started to spread among the million-strong army, especially among the inhabitants of these places. Then the voice continued. We took these places easily and no one got killed in the process. All the people we found there are alive in captivity, but all of them will be burned on stakes tomorrow morning. Ah, my sons. You animals. My wife, my mother. My wife, my... Nearly a quarter of the million-strong army started shouting in denial and anger, and soon after the initial breakdown, they started weeping nonstop. We will give you one more chance. Then the voice continued. The men and women that belong to those places must leave the capital before dawn today. You return to your hometowns and surrender. Anyone who returns to his hometown, we will hand him his family and save them from this miserable fate. This is a promise that touches our honor, the Burton family. That's bad. The Duke felt as if the ground split open under his feet and heaven collapsed on his throne. Stop him. Find the source of the voice and stop it immediately. The saints began to fly over the walls and from among the army, like locusts, quickly trying to find the source of the sound. 10 miles east. Peon with a big smile on his face looked beside him and spoke. Let's go. Our job here is done. The transmission of sound over long distances is one of the main functions of the wind law, and that is why the task was assigned to the best person to use this path. 3 saints behind Robin looked at the little kid in front of them in astonishment before dashing toward their base. They were assigned by the Patriarch to come and protect him until the mission is over, but it seems like the Patriarch had underestimated him. Standing 10 miles away, he can escape easily even if he crawled all the way back. They won't find him. Hey you, where do you think you are going? One of the officers shouted at a man who started to move away from the formation. And you there? All of you stand still. This is an order. My wife, my wife. Unconsciously, the residents of those cities and villages began to lay down their weapons and walk toward their homelands. Officers, whoever abandons his weapon, kill him. Whoever moves half a step, kill him. A shout out from a saint. Everyone stop. Stop. Even after the permission, the officers did not find in themselves the strength to do it. The number of those who left their weapons is simply too many. It's just a ploy to break up our ranks. Even if you go out, you will be killed with your families. It is better to stay here and avenge them. I'd rather go back and die next to my son then. He is the reason I came here to fight anyway. If he is dead, then there is no meaning in all of this. No one can stop me from going to him. A middle-aged mortal shouted and started running. But his head fell off after 2 steps. Kill the traitors. If you see your friend moving from his spot, put your weapon into his neck. Let me go back to my family. ARGH, you want to kill me? You idiot. They have taken over the whole duchy. Today may be my day, but tomorrow your city will be announced too. Chaos. Utter chaos. About a quarter of the million soldiers were from those cities and villages that were announced. After the first 1 rebelled, 10 appeared. After the first 10, 1,000 appeared, then 10,000. After waking up from the first shock, they all began to wipe their tears and choose between staying and returning, betting on the promise of the Burton family, the invaders, or staying and taking revenge on their families. In the end, most of them chose to bet. But this time, they didn't throw away their weapons and started running casually like the first wave. They fought. A few knights and officers from the afflicted cities even took charge of those who wanted to leave and made initial battle formation. A real internal war began in no time. Riot was the headline for the rest of that night. A few tens of thousands were killed, and about 200,000 fled under the wing of the night, leaving behind the walls of the capital strewn with the blood of its defenders, and an army completely disintegrated after the utter destruction of its formations. Chapter 192. One word. The next day, the voice came back and announced the names of 7 more cities and villages, saying the same threats, repeating the same incident. Without any change, the residents of those villages and cities began to leave their weapons and run randomly. The only new phenomenon this time is that the inhabitants of those cities didn't riot alone. The rest of the residents of the villages and other small towns whose names were not mentioned took the opportunity and started running away with them. It was clear that this incident would be repeated the next day, as the Burtons has taken hold of the whole duchy, so why should they wait for their death? Again, nearly 100,000 soldiers, farmers, and housewife were killed under the heavy assault of the knights and saints, with about 200,000 managed to flee safely. At the end of the second day, of the million-strong army, more than half of them either fled or died. The only ones who remained in the capital now are its people. Not one man or woman of the backup remained. The Duke found himself with an army of a little more than 300,000 soldiers, with little to none war horses, categorized weapons, and even officers and knights. Yet, this was not his biggest problem. The 300,000 soldiers plus the reinforcements of saints and knights from the 2 neighboring duchies is still a huge number, especially since the capital walls are on their side. They can still put up a fight. But the bloody experience they went through during the past 2 days struck every nerve they have. These simple men and women were ordered to kill their colleagues and friends with their own hands, just because they tried to protect their families. The excessive zeal and the feeling of defending the homeland to the death, protecting the freedom, and all this nonsense were lost in the wind, and muffled silence and a thick smell of blood took their place. The army was devastated, with no formations whatsoever. With zero morale, they were left with absolutely nothing aside from the numbers. But even the state of gloom and depression did not last long. After only 3 days of the massacre, the capital found itself under siege. 6 armies from 6 different directions suddenly appeared and began to approach little by little until they blocked all possible ways to exit or enter the capital without passing by them. Then they come to a stop, and then began raining the Harris Duchy with fire explosion talisman arrows from afar. The distance was too far for an arrow to reach, but this is what happened. About 500 arrows landed on the army in front of the walls in each wave, causing massive destruction and panic. Ire began to rise in the Duke's chest. He wanted nothing more than to take what is left of his army and march forward to cut down those Black Sun weasels. But he knew if he took the army, even the elite part of it, to attack one side of the siege circle, the rest of the circle will advance and take the capital while he is busy. Seeing that the Burton family still had no intention of starting a decisive battle yet, the Duke gave orders to his army to quickly enter the capital and take cover behind the walls, then shut all the doors. The siege continued for another 4 days. The Burton family's army was still satisfied with sitting far away and watching the capital burn, while somehow the exploding arrows find their way into the capital and fall each time over the heads of the soldiers, no matter how much they try to escape or change their places. It seemed like the exploding arrows will never miss, nor it will ever end. That is why all the saints in the city, except for the 3 dukes, were appointed to take turns setting up energy shields to give the army and the city dwellers a chance to rest and catch their breath before they are all wiped out. Inside the ducal palace. Damn it! Duke Harris smashed the armrest of his throne. How long do these bastards intend to continue with these provocative actions? Why don't they attack us directly and try to bring down the capital? Do they think we will surrender and kill ourselves due to these annoying mosquito bites? I am afraid that this mosquito bite has killed a few thousands of our men and destroyed a few important sites inside the capital, and most importantly, it greatly exhausted the saints of our 3 families. If the decisive battle begins now, they will not be able to fight with 100% of their strength. Another spoke. Duke Harris clenched his fist tightly. Damn it. If not for the information that their so-called Fire Legion can unite their attacks to deal with large numbers of saints, I would have ordered a few quick and focused attacks to wipe them all out. As long as we're inside, they can't do anything with their united attacks, and the Burtons don't have saints strong enough to subdue us either. We'll have to wait and hold on for as long as possible. Perhaps the royal family will finally respond. Duke Harris finally gave a heavy nod and didn't speak anymore. Hold on. That's all they can do for now. The following days weren't much kinder to them. The Wind Legion's attacks with arrows of the fire explosion talismans didn't calm down for a moment and came from all directions. In addition, some carpenters in the army built catapults using the available resources around the capital, and an attack with flame balls and stones also began alongside the talismans. Whether you were an ordinary citizen or a soldier, a knight or a saint, no one had a good rest inside those walls. Everyone was exhausted, even the three dukes in the palace, tired of thought and anxiety as they looked from the balconies at what was happening below. Until the 10th day of the siege came, and a voice erupted across the entire capital. Ha ha! Where did you think you were going to run from me? You son of the Rashford pig family. Your owner has come to take your head. This is a voice. Galen Bradley, one of the defeated dukes inside the palace, stood terrified. How could he not know this voice when he used to hear it in his nightmares every time he closed his eyes? He quickly flew from the balcony, and the other two followed him, and the first look was enough to send a shiver in their backs. Oh no! Only 100 meters from the main gate of the capital, at least 50 individuals, including Galen Bradley and Raymond Alton, were floating in the air. Behind them, the Burton family's army began to rapidly narrow the circle of siege and approach the capital at a steady pace, with a clear increase in the number of knights in their ranks. All these days, they were waiting for the support of the Altons and Bradleys. The thought of a blow to the head of Duke Harris, then slowly looked back at his saints who had been exhausted by defending the walls for the past 10 days. One word came up to his head. FCK? Chapter 193, Splitting the Cake. The capital of the Duchy of Harris, inside the ducal palace, half a day later. Good, very good. Galen entered the main throne chamber stained with blood, swinging a human head in his hand by the hair. I have always dreamed of making this place my home. Hold your horses. Robin walked in behind him with his hands behind his back. Don't let the excitement take you away. This place belongs to me now. Galen definitely didn't mean to hint at anything, right? Raymond found himself a comfortable sofa in the throne room and sat on it. He was clearly tired. Galen objected. Of course I'm hinting at something. At least give me a chapter or two in the palace to be my own. His Highness, Duke Harris would have wanted that for me too. Then he raised the human head and looked at its broken eyes. What do you think, Your Highness? Then he started laughing hysterically before throwing the Duke's head off the balcony. No one has entered the throne chamber after the three of them. Not Julius Rufus, not Mila, not even Patriarch Brian. No one else was worthy to be in the company of those three. The battle ended barely half an hour ago with the killing of the last saint of the families of the three dukes and the arrest of the last soldier, and put him in chains. After that, the capital was overrun and was subjected to be completely cleaned of anyone bearing the name of the Harris family. And this process is still going on already now. But Robin gave strict orders not to attack innocents and not to loot anything. He said that the destruction that had befallen his city so far is enough. Should we clean all the debts now? Robin suddenly asked after drinking a few glasses of wine with the two dukes. Why the rush? We just finished a 4-month war. Don't you know how to relax, brat? Galen spoke in protest as he closed his eyes and raised his head up to face the ceiling. It was a really tough fight. Duke Harris and the two previously defeated dukes alone were at level 30, and their tens of saints who were all fighting with the intent of victory or death. Although both numbers and readiness for the final battle were on the Black Sun Alliance side, quite a few saints from the three Black Sun families fell during the battle. Galen is right. Leave these matters for later. We aren't going anywhere, kid. Raymond spoke in a low voice. He sounded like he is about to fall asleep. No problem with me, Robin shrugs. But I'm heading to Jura today or the day after. We should clear everything before that, so. When will we talk? Galen finally lowered his head and opened his eyes wide. What are you going to do in Jura at a time like this? Don't you know you still have to clean up where you ate? Also, the rest of the dukedoms and the royal family of the Lying Water may attack at any moment. This is definitely not the time to let things here aside and go back to Jura City. I know. Robin rubbed his forehead. But there is something I have been delaying for years, and I have to start preparing for it. I will leave here the entire army under the leadership of the Patriarch to clean up the remnants of the old regime and help you out if there is a major attack. I will devote a few more months of fire explosion talismans to the Burtons here just in case. And I am also sending you a few batches of fire explosion talismans as a gift from me to secure your new frontier. But I personally have to go back. The issue that calls you back to Jura is so important. What could? Raymond muttered, but quickly sighed and fell silent. He wanted to ask what could make the current Robin this anxious. Whether it's power or prestige, there is none above the Burton right now. Aside from the royal family, of course. But when he can down this line of thoughts, he decided to leave it aside and just admire the boy in silence. Robin managed to capture a ducal capital, and yet he was thinking about the next step. Maybe this is what defines a true genius. Raymond finally sighed, then continued. As long as you have to leave, then it's okay. Let's talk now. All right, let's do it now. If I allowed myself to sleep today, I won't wake up for at least a week or two. Huh. Galen laughed loudly and then looked at Robin. Speak then. What do you want? My dear father-in-law. Robin faced Galen and smiled. We had previously agreed that I would take 30% of Rufus's Marcusa land. That was roughly 15% of your total lands at the time. But that was before the Rufus family swore allegiance to me, and before I sacrificed about 30,000 men of my family in defense of Bradley Pearl City, and before I sent you an additional 70,000 Fireburst talismans to aid you in the war. I even sent you all your knights and saints you assigned to aid me. All this, and you call me your dear father-in-law. Listing services frightened Galen for a moment. I know all this. And then what? I want all of the Rufus family's lands. Robin put it. Keeping all their lands with them would be a good reward for their loyalty to me and their participation in this war with all their might, don't you think? Galen didn't reply, but stared at the kid with his punch-able face in front of him. After about a minute, he held himself from trying to give him a punch that would knock his white teeth down and just shook his head. I'll give you 2/3 of their land. That's good enough. I will take their whole lands. But for the sake of Mila, I'll give you a portion of the North Duchy of Harris equal to the extra 1/3 of Rufus's land. And I'll let you choose which piece you want to. What do you think? Robin quickly replied. Galen fell back into silence for about another 2 minutes, and then finally spoke. Tisk, all right. I'll pick my favorite spot and let Brian know about it later. Julius Rufus has just chosen to fight for you, but you started taking care of him. Huh? You're starting to tempt me to do the same, haha. Hey, the doors are always open, my dear father-in-law. Robin jokingly replied, and I started another side conversation of compliments with Galen. The atmosphere is much lighter than before. But one didn't think so. Raymond was still trying to comprehend the punishments this brat had inflicted on his fiancée's family, and it was mainly for stopping an army of 120,000 soldiers. Sweating began to pour down his forehead when he remembered the 360,000-strong troops that Robin had stopped before they destroyed his duchy. Chapter 194 Sir Robin. While Raymond was drowning in his thoughts trying to guess what Robin might ask and how to respond to it, he felt someone stare at him. When he looked next to him to find Robin looking at him, smiling as if he saw a piece of meat after spending a month in the desert. This is the second time he has seen this sight. The first time when it was agreed to help them more than 5 years ago, and he took from him everything that the Tai family owned, which constitutes about 30% of his total territory. At last, he gave a troubled chuckle and spoke. Would you stop looking at me like that? Say what you want straight away. Ha. All right. I was just messing with you, Robin laughed loudly. The Tai family lands that you agreed to give me. I will just take 1/3 of it instead of the whole thing. Is that a good start? Huh. Robin gave up 2/3 of the previous deal from the start. This was certainly not expected at all. After a few seconds, Raymond continued. No, that's not Robin that I knew. Have you got a heat stroke? Or do you want to use the lands as a dowry for my younger sister? I don't mind, by the way. Hey, the boy already has my daughter. Find a groom for your younger sister somewhere else. Galen jokingly threw an apple at Raymond. Haha. You must be kidding. With all due respect, even if I were to marry your younger sister, I wouldn't offer such a huge dowry. Robin laughed. You know, I took a nice piece of land from the Duchy of Everen, but those lands are not connected directly to Jura. But there are 2 barons belonging to you between Jura and the border with the Duchy of Evran. I want you to pass on to me the ownership of the two baronies. When I have them, then the Burton lands starting from the former Doliver Kingdom passing by the former Evran Duchy, then all the way to Jura, will truly be connected. Oh, Raymond took a few seconds to think. There is no big difference. The land you gave up is about the same size as the one you want. There is a few gold mines in the one you want, though. But never mind. That's fine with me. You can have it. I will send voice messages to the two barons letting them know that they will serve under your rule starting today. Raymond then stood smiling and turned towards the door in high spirits. That was much better than expected. Where do you think you are going? Robin raised an eyebrow. You said yourself that the two pieces of land are almost identical. What did I get? The gold mines you talk about are nothing special. You took a few rare metal mines in those lands I gave up as well. Please sit down. We still have something to talk about. Ha ha ha. You thought you survived, huh? This is hilarious, ha ha ha. Gallon laughed out loud and went back to eat from the giant fruit platter in front of him. Tisk, continue then. Raymond sat down again with a gloom on his face. What were we saying? Oh, as you both know, I didn't plan to attack the Duchy of Harris. I did it to protect you guys, but now I have a whole duchy that also became separate from the headquarters in Jura, and now that I have connected the southeast with the north, I can't let the east left alone. I want all the noble families in their lands that are located between Jura City and the former borders with the Duchy of Harris. You what? You know that you are asking for almost 40% of the total area of the old Duchy of Alton, after already taking 30% of it. Raymond leaned his body forward and asked Robin sarcastically, would there be such a thing as the old lands of the Duchy of Alton, nor new ones, if I hadn't stopped the 360,000-strong armies? Robin raised an eyebrow and asked with feigned innocence, that's a bargain if you asked me. But I hear you. I'm not an unreasonable man. I will only take 2/3 of those nobles, and I will give you a piece of the Duchy of Harris from the south to be merged into your own new lands. What do you think? Still too much. Raymond hit himself in the thigh and then continued. You are the least among us who suffered losses. During your entire campaign on the Duchy of Harris, almost no one died from your family. And even in the last fight you used us. Hey, don't blame me for my genius in choosing timing and strategies to minimize casualties. I entered this war mainly to help you, not to race on whose soldiers would be killed most. Gallon nodded vigorously and smiled as he ate a mango. Raymond did not answer directly but tapped on the sofa bench with his 4 fingers for about a minute, then finally spoke. You know, those of the past were truly wise. My father once told me not to ask for payment after I've finished my work. The other party might refuse to give me what I want. In that case, I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Your father is a wise person. Robin nodded slowly with a straight face and then continued. But if you had an army that could destroy duchies with a mere gesture, you wouldn't have to worry about such nonsenses. In that case, those who have debt will pay, especially if their 70% of their army was destroyed in recent battles, don't you think? Ha 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 ha, that sounds about right. After a few moments of silence, Raymond burst out laughing and spoke, and then quickly stood up and started walking towards the door. We have a deal. I will leave before that brat remembers anything else. Bye. Hee hee. Robin shook his head as he saw Raymond running away, then said, I too will take my leave too. A loud snore stopped Robin in mid-sentence. When he looked toward Gallon again, he found him sleeping in his spot, with a half-unfinished apple in his mouth. Seeing this, he smiled and left silently. A week later, in one of the main rooms of Duke Harris's palace. Robin opened his eyes and began to sniff, then started looking for Mila, who is usually next to him at these times. And indeed, she was found in a meditating position next to the bed, and as usual also in her revealing underwear. Good morning, my beautiful Mila. Oh, what a good night's sleep. I feel like I slept for a week. Mila opened one of her eyes. That's because you really slept a week. What? Robin rose from his bed. Strange. Why did I need so much sleep? I didn't fight myself. You seem to have underestimated your mental fatigue since the war began. Mila stood up in a sexy pose and walked over to him, thinking of strategies and taking responsibility for the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers and innocents. All this mentally exhausts any general, even if he does not move from his place. And you were the best leader during this war, my handsome general. Is that so? My genius as a general has been draining me mentally. No wonder. Robin nodded a few times, and then gave a chuckle as he started caressing Mila's breasts. It is finally done now. There is nothing here for us anymore. Start arranging your luggage. We will head back to Jorah today. Mila smiled a gentle smile and shook her head. You are going back to Jorah today. Haven't you forgotten that matter yet? A sudden feeling of depression hit Robin when he remembered Mila's previous words that she would leave him after the war ended. Have you made a serious decision about our future? I asked Mila seriously. Robin didn't know what to say. His future isn't even here. As expected, Mila shrugged in response, stood up, and started getting dressed. When you make up your mind, you know where to find me. Mila. Robin raised his hand to grab her closer to him, but stopped himself halfway and clenched tightly, then spoke. You may continue to create the talismans for your family. If you want, I think your father would benefit from some oath tablets in subduing his new lands. But remember to make it with your own hands. Do not give them the way to mass-produce them. Oh, the Bradleys will appreciate that. Thank you. Mila turned after getting dressed and thanked him with a smile that was hardly a smile, then approached and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Be careful on your way to Jorah, Your Excellency. Chapter 195 Back to Track. On the same day, Robin began his preparations to return to Jorah and contacted the elders of the family to let them know this intention. Of course, because they did not fully control the territory of the Duchy of Harris, and there was still the danger of attacks from other duchies or the royal family of the lying Water Kingdom itself, it was impossible for the main forces of the Burton family to return to Jorah anytime soon. But if it was only Robin who wanted to leave, no one minded. Actually, quite a few were extremely supportive about it. Although he won their respect as a military general in this legendary saga, they know that his real place to shine is not on the battlefield, but behind his locked doors. It was also decided that 2 newly ascended saints and a few knights from the family would return with him to supervise Jorah and register their new lands with the royal family, and begin arranging their relations with their new nobles who had moved to work under them instead of the Altons. Robin announced that he would also take Caesar with him, and the command of the fire forces was given to his deputy and second most powerful person in the Legion, Burton. Peon got orders from Robin to return to the task of searching for his family, training them, and resettling them anywhere he wants. As for Theo, he decides that he will stay behind with the army and serve as the highest authority in the Special Legions. As for Mila, she already took off north to join her family troops after she affirmed that Robin is fine. And indeed, on the same day, Robin and his few companions set out for Jorah, leaving the burning grounds behind waiting to be burnt even some more. A week later, Jorah City, inside the underground room at Robin's palace. Swoosh. Dots of light shot out from Robin's forehead and began to form in a human body. Why are you so late? I thought you regretted your decision and wouldn't contact me again. Are you ready to move? Not yet. I still have about 14 sessions for Caesar. I'm not leaving until I secure his future, Robin replied, rubbing his forehead. Huh? You haven't finished his sessions yet. Damn it. You just had to integrate Death Major Heavenly Law into his cultivations base with that crappy foundation modification technique of yours, huh? I told you to let me give you an easy and full solution to his problem, but you insisted on making me only help you with small pieces of advice to complete your own work faster. At this pace, it will take an extra year or 2 for you to finish with him. I told you time is short. This delay won't help you in your mission. You are practically raising your death chances. The all-seeing God furrowed his eyebrows. I want my own path with my own decisions and ideas. It was already hard on me to ask for advice to speed up the process. How can I ask you for the whole thing? Plus, you already praised my idea and my foundation modification technique. Why are you saying it is crappy now? That hurt. Robin grasped his heart in a sarcastic manner. Humph, it is indeed brilliant for a brat like you, but not when it put our plans on hold. Why did you summon me here anyway? I'm bored honestly. Aside from helping Caesar, I have nothing to do. I thought of researching the second stages of the major laws first, but I have no passion for that now. It would be too boring. I thought you would have a solution to that. Please tell me what I have to do for the next period. Robin spoke with a slight smile. When I was on my way back here, I thought about your words back then. You were talking about space portals and the need for energy, and so on. Suppose I told you I'm ready now? What will happen when I'm ready? Is there anything I need to prepare? You brought me just for this? You shameless little fool. The all-seeing god sopped himself and then added, Don't worry about this. Just collect some energy stones, and when the time is right, I will give you the design to make the portal and turn it on. Now as good as ever. Please give me your instructions. Robin extended his hand. As you wish, the all-seeing god replied curtly. A pen on the table began to move with extreme speed over a few empty scrolls, and after about a quarter of an hour of writing, hundreds of scrolls were filled to the brim. That's all you can know about the space portal. After you've finished your business here and start setting up the portal, contact me to help you and to give you the exact coordinates. Well, I can't stay here any longer. But, the all-seeing god said, and then disappeared, returning to Robin's forehead. Robin slowly moved to the first scroll and began to read silently. After 2 hours. FCK. 5 hours later. Is this a joke? Does he really think I can make such a space portal whenever I want? Robin began reading quietly out of boredom, curiosity, and not to remain ignorant of what was to come. But after each line he reads, his features changed. The items required to complete the portal were simply too many. After reading more than half of the Grand Library inside Jura, Robin had a great understanding of different types of resources, and all the minerals on the list are considered to be among the rarest resources on the planet. For example, one of those resources needs high-leveled saints to go inside extremely dangerous zones to fetch a few grams of them, but the scroll said that he will need around 250 kilograms. As for the energy needed, just the energy needed to operate in order to move one individual. If it is pulled from the energy stones available on this planet, he will need approximately. He will need to purchase energy stones worth 15 million gold coins to teleport only him. This enormous value erased any hope for Robin that he would be able to take a few saints with him to the other world even if he wanted, but he began to doubt that he would find energy stones inside the kingdom of this value in the first place. That's regardless of the value of the minerals that the space portal needs, which will not be less than another 15 million gold coins as well. After Robin had completed reading all the steps, and according to the number of resources and work required of him, he thanked heaven that he had asked the all-seeing God for this information now, and that he did not wait until he was ready to leave. These resources may not count as something to someone like the all-seeing God, but they will split the spines of Robin and the entire Burton family in an effort to gather them as quickly as possible. The coming period is not very calm as he had imagined. Chapter 196, Raising Funds. Before the war, Caesar had undergone only 6 sessions to modify his foundation to be compatible with new parts of the death law that was added to his heavenly law cultivation technique, and according to Rubin's initial estimates, he would need 14 additional sessions. And if he managed to compress a few sessions of them to be every 3 weeks instead of every month, this means that he would need a year to complete the adjustments to the entirety of Caesar's foundations. And now, in the same year, he has to collect nearly 30 million gold coins worth of resources and energy stones. That is a lot. Only a royal family with thousands of years of accumulation could confidently say that they can spend this much money within 1 year. Yet even they would definitely not use this much gold if not to stop some kingdom's crippling issue. That night, after reading all the manuscripts and engraving them into his soul, Robin spent a few more hours sitting still with his eyes closed, trying to think of ways to raise that money, and most importantly, thinking of a way to collect all those resources. Profits from selling talismans and classified weapons? No, impossible. If he wanted to rely on these two, he would have to wait for at least 5 years, and during those 5 years he must allocate every single copper coin of the profit to purchasing the needed materials. And that's impossible for a growing family as the Burtons. The family needs huge expenses in the coming period to consolidate its new borders, build new citadels and forts, mobilize and equip new armies, and establish more projects and factories in the new lands. Relying on these 2 branches, which are the main source of income for the family, means that he will need to wait about 15 years for the profits to accumulate in the treasury, and this of course will not work for him. He already postponed his mission for nearly 4 years now. If he waited much more to go on such a mission, then he better not go at all. After staying still and squishing his thoughts so much that he started to get headaches, He inserted his soul sense into his ring and sent, "Sage Albert, are you there? I need you for something important." After about 5 minutes, the reply finally came. "Oh, Robin? Welcome. I salute His Magnificent the Burton Duke, or may I call you Your Excellency now like the rest of your family does? Please don't make fun of me, Your Highness. How can this little boy earn any title out of your mouth? Simply calling me Robin is honor enough," Robin quickly replied. "Oh, your social skills have improved a lot. Good. Then tell me what's important you need me for." Robin paused for a few seconds and then sighed and replied, "Sigh honestly, there's a big problem that I have faced, and I can't find a solution except to ask you for a solution." "Oh, and what could be this thing that troubles even our genius boy?" The sage spoke earnestly. "Money. I want to ask you for money, lots of it." "Money? Ha ha ha." The sage burst out laughing. "I would be lying if I said that the royal family earns more per month than you do now. Our treasury has only recently started to recover after the taxes you send us. You know how to joke, boy. No, honestly, what do you want?" "Your Highness, I wasn't kidding. I know how precious your lordship's time is. I want 30 million gold coins within a year." After a full minute of silence, the sage finally spoke. "Why haven't you laughed and said it was a joke yet?" "Because it isn't." No, this must be a joke. If it isn't, then you are mad. I'm not going to take 30 million gold coins out of the royal treasury for you. What would you do with all this money anyway?" The sage quickly replied, irritated when he realized that Robin was talking seriously. "Honestly, I have a big project I want to do, and I need large amounts of energy stones and rare resources. The value of everything combined is about 30 million, and I can't wait long to collect them. Only 1 year is available, so I contacted you to guide me, Your Highness." "What kind of project is this that requires all these resources?" "Whatever it is, postpone it or find another way. What you ask for is impossible." The wise replied emphatically. 30 million gold coins. This amount of gold can transform the fate of a nation. It can transform a kingdom from poverty to wealth. Strange. I heard that you wanted to buy the method of making level 6 fire explosion talisman for 50 million coins when I ordered the attack on Dolliver. But now that you have taken the method of making fire explosion talisman and the method of making darkness talisman, and above them, the method of making vitality talisman, is the 30 million coins really too much for the three?" Robin spoke sarcastically. "The matter is different. The agreement between us did not include any talk about gold. It was an exchange of another kind." The sage replied slowly. "What exchange? Please don't forget that you took them in exchange for killing the saints of the Tai family and the Rufus family. But in the end, we managed it ourselves, and no blood touched the royal family's hand. The royal family in the end took the method of creating the 3 talismans without paying anything. Don't you see that this is unfair? If we considered how you valued the fire explosion talisman in the past, then you currently owe me at least 200 million gold coins." Robin was irritated and nervous at the same time. The royal family is the last source he can think of for that sum, and without it, he will have to wait at least another decade, which will simply make his already difficult task impossible. Chapter 197. Long-awaited permission. "Sigh, I knew you would mention this." The sage paused for a moment and then continued. "Our agreement was to move the saints of the royal family to kill your enemies. Did we refuse to do it when the time came? Is it my problem that you managed to deal with the 2 families yourselves? We, the royal family, didn't break our promise. You just didn't choose to use it." "That doesn't mean you don't owe me," Robin replied. "Of course, I can't force the royal family to do anything, but it will certainly affect our future business if you can't even pay for what you already took." The sage remained silent for a few seconds. "What exactly are those resources that you need?" "I need energy stones worth at least 15 million gold coins, 50 kilograms of ice silver metal, 100 kilograms of a fortified gold metal, 20 liters of illusory winter lotus extract, a 250 kilograms of..." Robin kept recounting at least 20 other names, and then added, "And I want them as soon as possible. The project must be finished within 1 year." Robin didn't get a response for about 5 minutes, after which a voice echoed in his head. "Little friend, what did you get yourself into exactly? When you said 30 million, you put the normal market price and didn't take into account that these resources don't normally sell at markets. These prices can only be useful in starting auctions on them. Even 50 million gold coins might not get you everything. Secondly, the last of your problems is money. Even if you have all the gold in the world, you may not be able to obtain these quantities of these rare minerals and resources. You must search for certain people in this world, as these quantities must be accumulated by their owners for thousands of years, or you should begin to buy piece by piece from dozens or hundreds of sources to collect them. Third, our kingdom does not even contain a number of those resources, and it is impossible to find more than 5% of the amount you need from those resources inside the Black Sun Kingdom. At such pace, you won't be able to gather all of them even in 20 years, even if you double the gold needed. Those words were what Robin had feared the most since he read their names. If even Sage Albert was saying this, then what would he have to do to gather them? Listen, I have a solution that will work for both of us. After another few minutes of silence, a message arrived from Sage Albert. What is it? Please speak. Robin replied quickly. He had started planning in his head to postpone his journey to Nahari for at least another 10 years at least. Of the 30 that you originally requested, the royal family will directly contribute 5 million gold coins. And the royal family will also bear any increases above the 30 million. So even if the total amount at the end reaches 50 million gold coins, we will bear the additional 20 million. This means that you are only responsible for providing 25 million gold coins. And I will take care of the rest. Does that sound good? 25 million gold coins. Robin muttered for a few seconds. That's still too much to collect by just selling talismans and weapons. Also, what about the resources themselves? Didn't you say some of them don't exist in the kingdom? How much time will it take to collect them all? The 8 kingdoms have had commercial and political relations since the World War age. Our relations with the Lying Water Kingdom and Doliver have recently worsened after the strength we have gained. But our relations with the remaining 5 are not half bad, especially with the Kingdom of Garia, which lies on our northern border. They can be considered an ally even. Using our relations with the royal families of those kingdoms, I will be able to collect all those resources for you within a year. You don't have to worry about it. As long as you need them badly, I will bring them for you. As for the coins that will buy all of this, okay, I'll make an exception for you since you are a strong ally of the royal family. Tell me, you can make minor heavenly law techniques whenever you want, right? Yeah. What does this have to do with our matter? Robin asked, surprised. Robin was already extremely pleased with the sage assurance about collecting the needed materials within 1 year, but the gold. From today, I will allow you to sell techniques for using the heavenly laws within the Black Sun Kingdom without any restrictions from the royal family. But of course, you will give us taxes from those sales, announced the sage. Really? I can sell them to anyone I want. Robin felt as if lightning had struck him. His eyes widened and stood up quickly. That's right, to anyone. The sage replied curtly, as if for a moment he regretted what he had said, but could no longer take it back. The world has changed at a rapid pace since your appearance, and the emergence of a number of knights to preserve our new lands is not a very bad idea. The sage's last words seemed as if he was trying to convince himself of the decision. Although he spoke the truth and wasn't lying to convince himself, the extent of the decision is certainly not limited to the emergence of new knights only. The circulation of minor heavenly laws techniques has always been under severe restrictions from the royal family. Even families that produce a genius cultivator who can make a technique for his own family, the royal family forbids them from selling it or giving it to another family without permission, or else they will face consequences they can't afford. Sage Albert allowing Robin to give techniques to some families in the new lands, even if under the influence of an oath, was indeed a huge exception for Robin, one that did not happen before in history. The nobles rule the commoners. That's how things have been since ancient times. And to ensure the stability of the nobility system, minor heavenly laws techniques were always the preserve of a certain class of the people, and that class nobles governed the rest. If everyone had those techniques, it will make them no different from the nobles. How would the kingdom run its society then? Who will listen to the noble families and respect them afterward? The sage's announcement was not limited to a way to bring in money. It is an announcement that will change the entire kingdom, and most likely he had already talked about something similar with the king before, or he wouldn't have dared take this decision on his own. Then everything has been resolved, haha. Thank you very much. Robin almost jumped with happiness. This will be the most direct resource for quickly raising money. And it isn't even just about money anymore. This was his plan ever all over. This was part of his dream. Finally, he can publish his works to the public without fear. Chapter 198, Falling Walls. The day after Robin's conversation with Sage Albert, he summoned Caesar, Zara, and 4 mid-leveled knights to his palace as the 7th session began. After a few months' absence, Caesar's screams shook the administrative area again. But it was nothing compared to the first few times. After Caesar experienced the gray flame and knew for sure that he was getting stronger, and after going through this painful experience a few times already, his screams became noticeably milder, his resistance became weaker, and not even once from start to finish of this session did he beg Robin to stop. Another reason is that Zara has become level 12 and the amount of energy she is pumping into Caesar's back has also increased significantly. But the end result did not change at all. After hours of shouting, Caesar fell unconscious with blood flooding from his ears, mouth, nose, and eyes. The 4 tired knights had to slowly carry him to his house. This one night will seal the whole next month for him. He will do nothing except try to recover. As for Robin, the night has just begun. After Caesar, Zara, and the 4 knights left, Robin went straight to his secret room, lit a big fire, and sat in front of it. It's time to choose the first public minor heavenly law technique in history. The Black Sun Kingdom is famous for its fire-related minor laws, so the first public minor heavenly law technique must be of the fire path as well. Robin made or looked in many techniques for minor heavenly law technique of this path in the past, but this time is different. This time, the technique will not be published under oath or under vicious conditions, or in exchange for vast lands and special services. Rather, it will be like any ordinary book or gold. It will be sold and bought in the markets. Whoever will buy this technique with a lot of money will certainly try to preserve it for himself or his family only. However, it is destined to be leaked from whoever buys it sooner or later. But this did not discourage Robin. On the contrary, this time he will not write the technique of any casual law that comes to his mind like what he did with the 4 minor heavenly laws he gave to the royal family before, but rather intends to choose a minor heavenly law that is only worse than the minor heavenly law of the royal family. As the first public law technique, as the first real useful legacy he leaves for all the inhabitants of this world, everything should be perfect. A few days went by so quickly. Robin didn't move from his spot. He spent every moment looking at the fire in front of him like an excited little child trying to identify a perfect piece of the overall pattern to write a technique for. Finally, after a whole week, he stood smilingly, went towards his office, grabbed an empty book, filled his pen with ink, and began writing on it excitedly. He didn't get up from his desk except to eat something to keep him energetic or to go to the bathroom, or to torture Caesar once more after 3 weeks. After he finished and sent off the torture party, he went back to his room in silence, continuing what he was doing. If it was another minor heavenly law technique, it would have already ended by now, but this one, even with the eyes of the truth of the 2nd grade, it still required a lot more time than expected. After another 2 weeks, the minor heavenly law technique was completed. This was undoubtedly one of the most beautiful days for Robin. This technique was not due to anyone's pressure, or was it for strengthening the family to protect himself. This technique represented what he wanted to do since he entered that cave a century and a half ago. He could barely part from looking at the small book at last after about an hour. Then he put it in his pocket and came out of his seclusion with a smile from ear to ear. It was time to meet some of the old guys in the family to arrange this sale. But the scene he saw as soon as he had a view outside the palace made him stammer. What the? The walls of the administrative area have been destroyed. Dozens of residential and commercial houses around the administrative area are being demolished in front of his eyes now. Even a few administrative buildings and a few other palaces that belongs to the elders that were right next to his palace were also taken down. At the request of Robin and Mila, the mansion was built to be anti-noise, especially the underground room completely isolated from its surroundings, so Robin didn't realize anything was going on around him while he was inside. He hurriedly moved toward his palace guards and asked, "What is going on here? Why is everything taken down? Are we under some kind of attack? Uncle Robin, have you finished your seclusion?" The 70-year-old guard bowed a little and then continued, "Nothing to worry about. Uncle Billy ordered this. Perhaps you can ask him about it yourself. Billy is back to Jorah? Robin was amazed at the guard's words and quickly asked, when? Are there no battles in the new lands to the east? Have we been defeated? No. Uncle Billy came back with a small part of the army, and they all came with good news. I don't think it had anything to do with the defeat. Uncle Billy came to meet you upon his return, but when he learned that you were in seclusion, he declined to interrupt you and left. He is currently in the Patriarch's office, running city affairs on his behalf. Oh, well, I'll go visit him. Robin rubbed his chin and then headed toward the Patriarch's office, saying, keep up your good work. Chapter 199 Blueprint. Billy, what's going on in the city? What is up with all this destruction? Robin immediately opened the door to the Patriarch's office and entered asking. But he was soon surprised by the number of knights, and even the presence of a few other Burton saints other than Billy, all standing around a large table and deliberating about something in the middle of it. Ha, Robin, you finally got out of your seclusion? Billy turned toward the door with his arms wide open. Come on, you will know the causes of the destruction after you take a look here. Robin stepped forward with his hands behind his back and stood next to Billy, looking at a blueprint on the table. A huge city blueprint. The city, as usual for most cities in this era, is divided into 3 sections, and each section has a wall around it. Like the current Jorah, the outer district were the weaker families who swore allegiance to the Burton family, the strangers looking for work, the families of mercenaries, the poorest of the Burtons, etc. The difference in this blueprint is that the outer area was so huge agricultural lands for basic crops were added inside the walls, and it appears in the blueprint a few places for low-level beast farms, voice talismans carriers factories, hide and paper scrolls factories, and various other industries. The inner district is much smaller than the outer one in the blueprint, but it is clearly superior to the current one in Jorah. This one he was looking at can surely accommodate all members of the Burton family, and there will still be a lot of room left. With large numbers of restaurants, theaters, auction halls, hotels, huge structures with runes fixed selling points written on them, high-level military barracks and training grounds for the knights, and even with all that there were still lots of empty spaces left for future generations. As for the central district, the heart of the city was increased in size a few times, and more high-level training areas and secluded training spots were planned, with many more palaces and large structures. Robin was surprised when he moved his eyes and found the word Jorah in the blueprint. This is not Jorah City. Not yet, but very soon, my friend. Billy patted Robin on the shoulder. My God, Robin finally understood and looked at Billy. This blueprint is at least 10 times the size of the original city. I can't even imagine how much manpower and funding it would need. Do we have enough gold for a project of this size? Is the internecine war over in the Duchy of Harris and Tinley? Is this the right time for it? You don't have to worry about that. Bailey smiled and then continued. The situation is stable throughout our lands. The lands we took from Dolliver no longer need our intervention anymore. The first few years after the initial families swore their allegiance to us and took the heavenly law cultivation technique, the situation was kind of bad. Tens of their elders died because they tried to backstab us or leak the heavenly law cultivation technique to Dolliver, or even knew someone in the family was about to backstab us, but did nothing about it. They hated us quite a bit after every dying one, but as the years passed they learned their lesson. The last time one of their elders died because of the oath was a couple of years ago, and they are learning how to behave at last. After the new nobles became stable and started gaining more knights, the situation there became fully under our control. We only need a saint or two there to direct them, and you won't hear from them any problems ever again. The lands that we took from the Duchy of Everin are quite calm. We found a few local families there, and we made them follow us as well, and gave them the heavenly law cultivation technique, and soon we will see their knights ruling over the land for us. As for the lands of Marquis Rufus and Marcus Taui, there is no dispute over them. They are under the absolute control of Julius Rufus, who became to follow us faithfully. As for our new lands in the Duchy of Harris, our military campaign frightened everyone, and because of our success in the lands of Tinley, those who had little love for the Harris family actually wanted to be our subjects. It was actually quite easy to deal with them after your departure. There were a few rebellions, but we put them down easily, and a few new fortresses are being reinforced there to repel any external attack. We were also able to convince a few families from the former Duchy of Harris to swear on the tablets, and there are already a few of them that are loyal to us. In a few years, there will be knights emerging from them that will make our rule their absolute. As for the project to rebuild the city, if we talk about the manpower, there are thousands who are waiting for a job opportunity, and we also have a lot of skilled workers after the giant projects. And Marquis Rufus and the Dukes Alton and Bradley helped by sending all the available labor to them as well when they heard about the project. Atop all of that, we have too many slaves because of the recent wars. As for money, this is easier. We have a reserve of a few million gold coins that will suffice to finance more than 80% of the project. Most of the projects are just brick walls and structures for housing or various commercial projects. There is no specific project that will cost expensive resources. And if we need more money, we have the rune masters to provide for our needs. Robin waited silently until Billy finished. Tisk, I still think it's too hurried. We could have put this effort and money into something else useful. Haha. Nephew Robin, we are, unofficially, the largest duchy in the Black Sun Kingdom. How can we survive in our cramped, worn-out, outdated city? One of the old saints spoke. The old city is not worthy of our new standing. It cannot accommodate more soldiers, training areas, and travelers. We cannot defend it because its walls are weak. It simply couldn't fit us anymore. Although Robin knew all this, and in fact, he internally supported this project, and he might have suggested it himself if the circumstances were different, the idea of throwing millions of gold coins at a time like this hurt his heart. Sigh as you wish then. So when are you going to finish the mega project? Robin asked after giving a long sigh. It will all be over in 9 months at the most, declared Billy. The day we celebrate the city's reopening will also be the day we officially celebrate the proclamation of Duchy of the Burton family. Oh, has His Majesty didn't appoint us as an official Duke family yet? Robin furrowed an eyebrow. He thought it was already over. Billy smiled and took a scroll out of his pocket. See for yourself. Chapter 200 Map. Robin picked up the scroll from Bailey, opened it carefully, and began to read. This was the decree declaring the 10th Duchy, the Duchy of Burton. The decree is also attached to a small map of the recognized lands of the family. The heart of the duchy lies at the very center, the capital of the new biggest duchy in the Black Sun Kingdom, and arguably the biggest in the whole 8 kingdoms, the city of Jura. It extends northward, taking the lands of the Rufus family and third of the lands that belong to the Tai family, and going all the way up to the lands of the Camden family that formerly belonged to the Lying Water Kingdom. Extending east, enclosing on its way a number of lands that belonged formerly to the Duchy of Alton, and swallowing most of the lands of the former Duchy of Harris. It extends southeast, taking another big chunk of the lands that formerly belonged to the Duchy of Alton, penetrating the lands of the Duchy of Everin, taking a third of the whole duchy, and devouring half of the former half of the Duchy of Tinley of the Dolliver Kingdom. Seeing the site resembling a 3-clawed beast palm shown in front of him on the map, even Robin gave a long sigh. Even on the map, the Duchy of the Burton family is visibly much larger than the rest of the kingdom's duchies, and even the duchies of neighboring kingdoms. Ha ha ha, awesome, isn't it? Billy laughed hysterically. Even the rest of the elders in the council began to show involuntary smiles. That scroll was simply an impossible dream a decade ago. Then Billy continued, we are indeed a duke's family already. We are just waiting for the city to be rebuilt to fit our new standing. When it is done, Jura will be only inferior to the royal capital in size, but not far away in terms of luxury and defenses. Only then we will invite all the nobles of the kingdom for the announcement celebration. The Burton family must not appear inferior to anyone from now on. Robin let out a small sigh, nodded and returned to Billy the scroll, and asked, what will happen to the current population during reconstruction? And most importantly, what about the auctions? Will they come back this month as planned? We have put a plan for the reconstructing. We divided the city into sections and will proceed the operations at a section after a section of the city. When we reach a section, then its residents are transferred to another section, and so on, or they are settled in temporary tents outside the city. No one objected to this, knowing that they will receive better and bigger houses and shops than before. Billy explained, putting the scroll in his shirt. Then he continued, as for the auctions, I know that you wanted to direct the effort of only 2 months of the Rune Masters towards supporting armies in the Lying Water Kingdom, and according to that, we would have to open auctions after about 2 weeks. But I have a request. I hope you will agree for auctions to be postponed for another 2 months. When we are done with the east side of the city, then we can continue, so as not to disturb the nobles with the construction noise. And during this time, we can construct selling shops for voice talisman, the other runes with fixed prices in general. What do you think? 2.5 months. Robin muttered and rubbed his chin for a few seconds, then nodded. It's okay. I'll give orders to the Rune Masters to produce fire explosion talismans at half their capacity for the next 2 months, and with the second half they would produce the fixed price talismans for small-scale sales. The profits of those sales can be put to work in the city construction as well. Haha, excellent. Billy clapped his hands in joy because Robin agreed. Just now a few elders were saying they needed money from the big auctions, and it must reopen as soon as possible. But as long as Robin agreed, it was settled. While laughing, he seemed to understand something. Right? What brought you here in the first place? Are you just asking about the reconstruction work? Actually, no. I wanted you to do something, but it appears that I will have to delay it for 2 months. Robin muttered, then continued. But some ads now wouldn't hurt. Listen, I want you to announce around the whole kingdom, to all nobles and non-nobles, all families big and small, and even gangs in the far mountains. Tell everyone under the skies of this kingdom that we will be selling a minor law technique on the reopening day of the Great Auction Hall of Jura. What? Even the elders who had been calm and silent up until this point couldn't be silent any longer. What about the royal family? What's going to happen to us if he did something like this? It's true that our family has become the largest of a duke's family, but we absolutely are still not in a position to decide something like that. Robin, you have to reconsider. Robin raised his hand and gestured to everyone to calm down. I have already taken Sage Albert's permission. We can sell to anyone we want. Although he'll be a little surprised at how many I'm going to sell to, but it's his fault he didn't specify a certain number. Sage Albert agreed. Billy muttered, still unbelievable. We will be rich. Ha. Our ancestors are sending us their blessings. We won't complain about our lack of gold ever again. Gold is no longer a problem. We can make the city 2 or 3 times bigger than this blueprint. We can add more defenses. We can. Robin left them for about 2 minutes without interfering, some partying and some still in denial, and finally said, Ahem. The profits of that technique. Put 25 million gold coins on the side for me. If we manage to get any more, then you may do whatever you want with it, all right? What? 25 million gold coins. Why would you need all this gold? One of the elders hit the table. Even the rest of the elders fell silent and looked at Robin. Their dreams were shattered. 25 million. An auction on a weak first-grade minor heavenly law technique may eventually reach 1 million or 1.5 million. If the auction is repeated every month, the 25 million will be saved over at least 2 years, and during that period they will not touch this much money. Robin looked at the angry elder who spoke and replied in a short sentence. This does not concern you. The atmosphere froze a little. After a few seconds, that elder gathered his courage and was about to reply to Robin, when another voice blocked him. Easy now, guys. Billy laughed and gestured for the elders to sit down. We didn't even consider the profits from that technique in the first place. There is no reason to overreact about it. Don't worry, Robin. We will forget this gold exists and will collect all the profits for you. Not speaking of 25 million. Even if you wanted these profits forever, we won't say a word. And I'll start doing the advertising right away. Good. It's always nice to talk to you, my friend. Robin replied, then turned and hopped to leave. But he stopped before reaching the door and looked at Billy. I almost forgot. I want metal tablets, beast hides, and the rest of the resources used in the thought-conveying technique. Collect as much as you can and send them to my palace. I also want you to build me a huge metal warehouse near my palace. It should be impenetrable by any eye or sense. I'll count on you. Billy nodded again and smiled and followed Robin's back as he made his way to the door. After confirming that Robin had left the building, one of the new saints stood up and shouted, Billy, at least you should have pressed him more or tried to bargain with him about that gold. This much gold should be under the disposal of the whole council. not to leave it aside for one man. Billy, if you can't manage the family resources, then leave your responsibilities to those who are capable.